Chapter 1131. No. We need 6 days to go back. 6 days is too long. With Mu Qing's cautious personality, I think it won't take more than a day for him to discover that we have already left. At that time, when he predicts our location and sees through our purpose, he will definitely make detailed arrangements immediately. In short, I don't agree with the suggestion of returning to the island. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Rather than saying that this was a great escape, it was better to say that this was a game. A game between him and Mu Qing. If he lost, he would die and turn into dust. If he won, he would leap over the dragon gate and soar into the sky. Then if we can't return to the island, how can we leave? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house asked. It was undeniable that what Qin Feiyong said made sense. However, the island was the only entrance to the inner sea. If they wanted to leave, they had to pass through the island. In other words, this was something that they would have to face sooner or later. Qin Feiyong said, "Don't panic, let me think about it." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house fell silent. She brought Qin Feiyong and continued to fly deeper into the inner sea. Stop. After a while, Qin Feiyong suddenly spoke. I've thought of a way. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house slammed on the brakes and stopped in the air. She looked at Qin Feiyong excitedly. You said that it was my ancestor who defeated the divine beast here and sealed its cultivation. In that case, was the sealing formation here also set up by him? Qin Feiyong asked instead of answering. Yes. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house nodded. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed as he said in a deep voice, I think we can make a bet. How? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house was surprised. I am the descendant of my ancestor and have received his inheritance. I think I should be able to break the sealing barrier here. Qin Feiyong said. Break the barrier? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house stared at him with her beautiful eyes. In the past, the Qin Emperor roamed the 4 seas and left behind countless legends. In the current world, there was probably no one who dared to say that they had the ability to break the sealing barrier he had set up. However, the person in front of him might really be able to do it. This was because he was the second person in history to possess the purple gold dragon blood. The most important thing was, at that time on the Divine Island, the appearance of the Mermaid Emperor's divine consciousness was also because of this person. This represented limitless possibilities. Qin Feiyong said, Let's go. Let's hurry to the border between the Endless Sea and the Inland Sea. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion nodded and picked up Qin Feiyong. Then, she took a mysterious step and tore through the air at lightning speed. This was a perfect support-type battle art. Qin Feiyong asked, Your mother has countless perfect battle arts. She should also have divine arts, right? Yes. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion nodded. Qin Feiyong asked curiously, Then why haven't I seen you use your divine technique? I didn't. My mother said that my cultivation is still too weak at the moment, so I shouldn't bite off more than I can chew. She said that I should wait until I reach the semi-divinity realm before she will give me the divine art. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. Qin Feiyong was stunned and sighed. You're really lucky. Why do you say that? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion did not understand. Qin Feiyong said with melancholy, I also have a mother who loves me dearly, but all these years, I have only seen her a few times. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion looked at him with a complicated expression and comforted him. Mother has also told me about your matter. Don't be depressed, because sooner or later, you two will truly be reunited. Thank you. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Oh right, after being together for so many days, I still don't know your full name. Is it convenient for you to reveal it? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was silent for a moment, then laughed. You can just call me Xueqi. Qin Feiyong smiled helplessly. This woman was obviously hiding her surname. However, he was puzzled. What was there to hide? Time flew. Night fell. Devil's Island. That little bastard still hasn't appeared. Is he really planning to waste time with us? Yiglao looked at the giant peak in the middle of the Devil's Island, his brows tightly knitted together. Mu Qing and the old man from the main pagoda also had frustrated looks on their faces. Time passed breath by breath. Suddenly, on the left side of the Devil's Island, a sea beast with a low cultivation suddenly jumped out of the sea and barged into the Devil's Island. Mu Qing and the other two only casually glanced at the sea beast before looking away. But very quickly. Then, they realized that something was amiss. Impossible. Suddenly, the three of them exclaimed in unison and turned to look at the sea beast again. They saw that the sea beast was actually alive and kicking on the island, without any signs of life. How could this be? The three of them hurriedly flew over, but they did not dare to approach the Devil's Island. They stood above the sea and observed the sea beast at a close distance. The appearance of the three of them also frightened the sea beast, and it hurriedly fled towards the center of the Devil's Island. Even when it disappeared from their sight, the sea beast did not fall to the ground and die. It's actually fine? The three of them were dumbstruck. Suddenly, Mu Qing gritted her teeth and said in a deep voice, "I'll go and try." "Don't, I'll go." Yiglao hurriedly grabbed Mu Qing and shook his head. Mu Qing said, "Then be careful." After all, Yiglao was a pseudo-god. If something unexpected happened, he would have the ability to save himself. Swoosh! Yiglao landed on the edge of the Devil's Island. Looking at the piles of bones, he took a deep breath, closed his eyes and stepped into the island. The moment he entered the island, all the hair on his body stood on end, afraid that something bad would happen to him. However, 1 breath, 2 breaths, 5 breaths, 10 breaths. Even after 10 breaths, he did not feel anything strange. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes, which were full of surprise. Swoosh! Mu Qing and the old man looked at each other and also landed beside Yiglao. "He's really fine?" The old man was shocked. Other than the countless bones under his feet, there was nothing strange. "That's not right." When Qin Feiyong and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house entered the Devil's Island, we saw them with our own eyes. Not long after, they showed signs of aging. But why are we completely fine now? Mu Qing looked around, her eyes full of suspicion. Yiglao shuddered and said, "We can't care so much. Let's go to the top of the mountain and take a look." Mu Qing raised her head and looked at the top of the mountain. Her eyes flickered with a cold light as she muttered, "This time, I definitely won't let you escape." Whoosh! The three of them soared into the sky and landed on the top of the mountain like lightning. Yiglao stood at a commanding point and looked down at the top of the mountain. He shook his head and said, "There's no one, but there's a tunnel entrance in the middle." The three of them rushed into the tunnel without stopping. When they entered the cave, they still did not see any trace of Qin Feiyong. Their hearts immediately sank. Yiglao said, "He can't be in the castle, right?" "No." Mu Qing shook her head and said, "It can't be that simple. I must have overlooked something." Buzz! All of a sudden, he activated his omniscient eye and spied on Qin Feiyong's whereabouts. "Damn it!" Soon, he roared in exasperation. "What's wrong?" Yiglao and Mu Qing looked at him in surprise. "He's already gone. I should have known. With the castle protecting him, he won't stay here and wait for death. And I was so arrogant. I thought he would continue to waste time with us here. Haha. I'm so stupid." Mu Qing threw her head back and laughed hysterically. "He's gone." Yiglao and Mu Qing looked at each other and suddenly burned with anger. He had actually escaped? Didn't that mean they had waited for nothing all this time? However, when he noticed Mu Qing's expression, Yiglao suppressed his anger and sighed deeply. It seemed that this matter had a big impact on Mu Qing. He stepped forward and patted Mu Qing's shoulder, comforting her. "Don't blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you. He's too cunning. Don't comfort me. In fact, I've long realized that I can't beat him at all. It's just that I've been running away and unwilling to admit it." Mu Qing shook her head. Her face was full of self-mockery. Yiglao said with a smile, "Who doesn't make mistakes? Don't give up. The most important thing now is to find him." "That's right. We can't let them leave the inland sea. Immediately inform the people guarding the mythical island to take precautions. Don't let Qin Feiyong take the opportunity to slip away." The old man in the main tower said. "No, they didn't go to the mythical island," Mu Qing said. With Yiglao's comfort, he regained his confidence. "They didn't go to the mythical island? Then where did they go? Is there another entrance to the inland sea?" Yiglao was surprised. Mu Qing said, "They went deeper into the inland sea, but I can't guess why they did that." Then what are we waiting for? Go after them, the old man in the main tower urged. Then, he rushed out of the tunnel and rushed toward the depths of the inland sea at his maximum speed. If we go after them now, can we still catch up? Yiglao muttered to himself as he followed behind the old man with Mu Qing. Mu Qing said, "It doesn't matter if we can't catch up now. It will be dawn in a few hours, and we can open the space-time door again." Yiglao's eyes lit up. He laughed and said, "That's right. As long as we have the space-time door, no matter how far they run, we can catch up with them." Time flew by. Midnight. The inland sea was shrouded in darkness. However, whether it was Mu Qing's group or Qin Feiyang's group, they could see everything around them clearly. Because at their cultivation level, there was no difference between day and night. In the sky above the sea, huge waves surged and strong winds howled. The auras of emperors filled every corner of the deep sea. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion flew with Qin Feiyang while pointing at the sea ahead. She smiled and said, "We're here." Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked over. He saw an island several kilometers away on the surface of the sea. That island was very strange. It was only about half a mile wide and more than 10,000 feet tall. However, its length could not be measured with numbers. It was like a huge dragon that extended to the ends of both sides. That island is called Dragon Island. It is the boundary between the Endless Sea and the Inland Sea. It runs through the entire Inland Sea. And Dragon Island is the same as the Island of Gods. It has been tempered by your ancestor with divine power. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said, "Tempered by divine power?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. After being tempered by divine power, even if you bombard it, you won't be able to destroy it. Unless your cultivation level surpasses your ancestors. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said. "I see." Qin Feiyang mumbled. Whoosh. More than 10 breaths later, the two of them descended above Dragon Island. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion waved her hand. A wave of battle aura appeared and pounced toward the void ahead. Bas! When the battle aura reached the center of Dragon Island, a purple gold light curtain suddenly appeared in the void and blocked the battle aura. When the battle aura dissipated, the purple gold light curtain also disappeared. That's the sealing barrier. Chapter 1132. Qin Feiyang walked forward and extended his hand into the air. The purple gold light screen appeared again. A strong sense of intimacy arose spontaneously. "Ancestor, is this your aura?" Qin Feiyang muttered. Inside the sealing barrier, he could feel a domineering aura that made all living things submit. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House walked to his side and said, "Now is not the time to think of someone. Quickly try and see if you can break this sealing barrier." If they couldn't break it, then their trip would have been in vain. Qin Feiyang restrained his thoughts. The power in his body roared out from his palm, rushing towards the sealing barrier. However, the barrier did not move at all. Seeing this, the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House's face immediately paled. "Don't worry. I believe it can be done," Qin Feiyang whispered. The purple gold dragon chi gushed out and rushed towards the barrier. A scene that surprised the two of them appeared. The sealing barrier actually absorbed all of the purple gold dragon chi. Could it be effective? The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House trembled, her eyes burning with a strong flame of hope. Qin Feiyang could not help but feel refreshed. The purple gold dragon chi in his energy reserve poured out, continuously flowing into the sealing barrier. However, although the purple gold dragon chi was completely absorbed by the barrier, there were no signs of the barrier cracking. Suddenly, the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House seemed to have thought of something. Her expression changed drastically, and she hurriedly said, "Stop." Qin Feiyang quickly retracted his arm and turned to look at her suspiciously. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House said in a deep voice, "In my opinion, by doing this, not only will you not be able to break the barrier, it will instead make the sealing barrier even stronger." Stronger? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Yes. This sealing barrier is also formed by the purple gold dragon chi, which is why it absorbed your purple gold dragon chi. In short, you are strengthening the sealing barrier by injecting the purple gold dragon chi. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House nodded. Qin Feiyang was stunned. There was such a thing? The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House said, "Why don't you try again with the purple gold dragon soul and the divine dragon method?" Qin Feiyang nodded. With a thought, the purple gold dragon soul roared and rushed toward the enchantment with surging dragon might. With a loud boom, the purple gold dragon soul crashed into the sealing enchantment. But in the end, not only did the sealing enchantment not break, but the purple gold dragon soul also collapsed, turning into purple gold divine light that was completely absorbed by the enchantment. Even that won't do? Qin Feiyang was furious. The first move, second move, and third move of the divine dragon incantation were all unleashed, bombarding the sealing barrier. Rumble! One after another, loud noises exploded above the dragon island, shaking the heavens and the earth. But the result was the same as before. The sealing barrier did not react at all. The miss of the Longfeng house sighed and said, "It seems that you are thinking too much." Qin Feiyang couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Don't waste time, let's go. If we are lucky, maybe we can reach the island before Mu Qing and the others find out." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. "That's the only way." Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly, raised his head to look at the sealing enchantment, and turned to leave. But just as he took a few steps, he suddenly stopped. "What's wrong?" The miss of the Longfeng house was puzzled. Qin Feiyang asked, "When we were on the island that day, how did the Mermaid Emperor's divine sense appear?" "At that time, I was busy running for my life. How could I remember this?" "Maybe he sensed your aura and appeared on his own." The miss of the Longfeng house shook her head. "No. If that's the case, he should have appeared the last time I came to Qinghai. Because last time, I even went to the bottom of the lake to take a look. So, there must be another reason." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he fell into deep thought. He remembered that when he was running for his life on the island, he was seriously injured by the chief pagoda master, and his body was badly mutilated. And when he and the miss of the Longfeng house flew over the lake changed. This was definitely not a coincidence. Badly mutilated, the lake changed. Divine sense. Suddenly, his eyes shone brightly as he said, "I know, it must be because of my blood." "Blood?" The miss of the Longfeng house was suspicious. "That's right. When I passed over the lake, it must have been my blood that dripped into the lake and awakened the Mermaid Emperor's divine sense. Since my blood can awaken the Mermaid Emperor's divine sense, then it should be able to break this sealing enchantment." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he quickly cut the tip of his index finger, and a drop of purple gold dragon blood flowed out from the wound. Bas! As soon as the purple gold dragon blood appeared, the purple gold light screen that had disappeared suddenly appeared on its own, emitting a dazzling divine light. "This is..." The miss of the Longfeng house was stunned. "This is the reaction of the bloodline power. It has sensed the purple gold dragon blood." Qin Feiyang's spirits were lifted. Previously, he had ignored the purple gold dragon blood. But in fact, the purple gold dragon blood was the real bond between him and his ancestor. Because blood was thicker than water. Under the nervous, perturbed and expectant gaze of the miss of the Longfeng house, Qin Feiyang raised his arm and pointed his index finger at the sealing enchantment. Buzz! When the drop of purple gold dragon blood touched the sealing enchantment, a crack immediately appeared on the enchantment, and then it turned into a light door that led to the endless sea. "It's broken." The miss of the Longfeng house was extremely excited. Even when she received the news that Qin Feiyang had snatched the divine crystal, she had not been so excited. Because this was a desperate situation. For the past few days, she had been in despair. Now that she suddenly saw a way out, how could she not be excited? "Let's go." She couldn't wait to rush through the light door and appear on the other side of the sealing enchantment. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He also stepped out, crossed the light door, and landed beside the miss of the Longfeng house. The light door closed. The purple gold light screen also quickly disappeared into the void, as if it had never appeared. "I finally escaped." He looked at the inner sea, his face full of hope. "That's right." The miss of the Longfeng house nodded and took out the image crystal. Qin Feiyang knew that she must have informed the mysterious lady. As expected. Not long after, the mysterious lady's shadow appeared and immediately asked, "How are you guys? Did the people from the main tower and the Mu family catch up to you?" The miss of the Longfeng house smiled and said, "We have already left the inner sea." "Left?" The mysterious lady was stunned and frowned. "We have been hiding on the island, why didn't we see you guys?" The middle-aged man also had a suspicious look on his face. The miss of the Longfeng house said, "We didn't return to the island. We left from the Dragon Island." Dragon Island? What's going on? Why didn't we know that there was an entrance to the Dragon Island? The two of them were bewildered. It's Qin Feiyang. His purple gold dragon blood can break the seal enchantment. The miss of the Longfeng house explained the previous situation in a simple and clear manner. I see. Only then did the two of them come to a realization. The mysterious lady looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief and said, "Give us the coordinates, we will go there immediately." Okay. The miss of the Longfeng house nodded. After giving the mysterious lady the coordinates, she turned off the image crystal and looked at Qin Feiyang. She smiled and said, "After we meet up with Mother and the others, we will be completely safe." Qin Feiyang smiled, looked up at the night sky and said, "It should be early in the morning now." Yeah, what's wrong? The miss of the Longfeng house was puzzled. After being chased for so long, I definitely have to watch a good show. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted as he took out the image crystal. Bas! The next moment, Mu Qing's shadow appeared in the air. Seeing that it was Qin Feiyang, Mu Qing immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation and roared, "You still dare to send me a message?" He thought that Qin Feiyang was deliberately provoking him. Of course. Qin Feiyang did it on purpose. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's past midnight. Are you preparing to use the all-seeing eye to predict my location and then open the space-time gate to chase me? Are you afraid? If you are, then quickly surrender." Mu Qing sneered. Afraid? You misunderstood. I sent you a message to tell you that there is no need to go through so much trouble. I will directly give you my current coordinates. Qin Feiyang said. After he finished speaking, he gave Mu Qing the coordinates. What do you mean? Mu Qing raised his eyebrows. Nothing. I just want to help you save some time seeing how hard you are chasing me. Hurry up, I will wait for you here. Qin Feiyang chuckled and turned off the image crystal. You really gave him the coordinates? Have you forgotten that the space-time gate can directly teleport them out of the inland sea? You just escaped and you are already like this. Are you arrogant? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house glared at him angrily. Of course I didn't forget. And the coordinates I gave him are not the coordinates outside the barrier, but the coordinates inside the barrier. In other words, when they are teleported over, they will be inside the barrier. Qin Feiyang said. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house was stunned and said angrily, "Why didn't you say so earlier? I just turned off the image crystal and you scolded me. Did I have the chance to say anything?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. I'm sorry. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house was rather embarrassed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, "Actually, I have another purpose for doing this." What is it? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house was stunned and asked. At that time on the island, Mu Qing was considered outside, and we were in the inner sea. He couldn't predict our exact location. And now, he is in the inner sea and we are outside. That's why I want to see if he can use his all-seeing eye to accurately predict our current location. Qin Feiyang said. There's no need to test it, right? Because whether it is our inner sea or his inner sea, there is a sealing barrier in between. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said. Qin Feiyang said, "It's better to be careful. I don't want to fall." It's better to be careful, the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house muttered. This little guy was too cautious. No wonder he could survive until today even in the face of so many strong enemies. Swish! In the blink of an eye, Mu Qing, Yigleo, and the old man from the main pagoda finally appeared. Looking at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing raised her eyebrows and said, "I thought you were playing some tricks again. I didn't expect you to really be here." Do you think I'm you? How can an honest person like me play tricks? Qin Feiyang's face was full of disdain. Chapter 1133. Yigleo and the old man from the main pagoda pounced towards Qin Feiyang almost at the same time as Mu Qing's words. At this moment, Qin Feiyang stood in front of the enchantment, only a few meters away from Mu Qing and the other two. For Yigleo and the other two fake gods, such a close distance, wouldn't it be easy to capture them? Yigleo and Mu Qing had full confidence that as long as Qin Feiyang didn't enter the ancient castle, they would definitely not be able to escape today. However, Mu Qing felt a sense of unease in her heart. Because Qin Feiyong's current behavior was too strange. Facing two fake gods, not only was he not nervous at all, he even crossed his arms in front of his chest with a playful expression. What exactly is wrong? Mu Qing muttered to himself and suddenly looked down at Dragon Island. Qin Feiyong was so calm. There must be a reason. Could it be that there was an ambush below? But no. At such a close distance, even if there was an ambush on the island, it would be too late to rescue Qin Feiyong. All of this was said to be slow, but the whole process only happened in an instant. Little bastard, let's see how you can run. Yiglao and Mu Qing had already rushed to the front of Qin Feiyong and the Miss of Longfeng house, within reach. They laughed. Now, even if Qin Feiyong wanted to enter the ancient castle, it was already too late. However, just when the two of them thought that they would definitely be able to catch Qin Feiyong, they suddenly bumped into the void and fell down like a dog eating feces, looking extremely embarrassed. The purple gold light screen appeared. N. Mu Qing looked at the purple gold light screen in surprise. What was this thing? It could actually block two fake gods? Yiglao and Mu Qing got up. Their faces were also full of disbelief. Suddenly, the two of them seemed to have realized something as they lowered their heads and scanned the Dragon Island below. It was fine if they didn't look, but when they looked, their old faces suddenly became gloomy. What's wrong? Mu Qing looked at the two of them in surprise. Yiglao said, I didn't notice it earlier, but now I realize that this is actually the Dragon Island, and that purplish golden radiance is the sealing enchantment that seals the inner sea. What? Mu Qing was stunned. Didn't that mean that Qin Feiyong and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion had already escaped from the inland sea and entered the endless sea? Brilliant, brilliant. At this moment, Qin Feiyong clapped his hands and smiled brightly. How did you get out? Mu Qing suddenly raised his head and stared at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong joked, this must be a secret. How can I tell you a secret? Impossible. Even we can't break the seal of the inner sea, let alone you. Yiglao and the old man from the main pagoda also looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. Qin Feiyong said, then I want to ask you, who set up this enchantment? Your ancestor, the Qin Emperor. The old man from the main pagoda blurted out. But after he said that, he was stunned. That's right. This sealing enchantment was set up by the Qin Emperor. As the descendant of the Qin Emperor, it was not impossible for Qin Feiyong to break this enchantment. But how did he do it? That's right. I am the descendant of the Qin Emperor. Can his sealing enchantment trap me? Qin Feiyong smiled proudly and looked at Mu Qing. It's obviously right in front of you and within reach, but you can only look at it. How is it? Is it fun? Are you deliberately playing with me? Mu Qing clenched his hands. Yes, I am deliberately playing with you. You've been chasing me for so many days. If I don't get back some face, how can I establish myself in the future? Qin Feiyong laughed. Mu Qing said, whether it's the Great Qin Empire or the Forgotten Continent, there's no place for you now. That's not necessarily true. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, based on your cautious personality, after receiving my message, you should have used the all-seeing eye to predict my location, right? So what? Mu Qing said in a deep voice. Then I can rest assured. You're in the internal sea, so you can't accurately predict my location. And now, the space-time gate in your hand will only open tomorrow morning. In other words, I have 1 day to arrange my affairs. And 1 day is completely enough. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Mu Qing was about to go crazy. He did not expect that all of this was part of Qin Feiyong's plan. This made him doubt his own ability again. Could it be that he really could not compare to this person? Suddenly, Yiglao sneered and said, don't forget, we still have the Real Spacetime Gate. Then you'd better do it as soon as possible. Otherwise, when we leave, it will be difficult to find us again. Qin Feiyong joked. Don't be too happy too early. Old E enunciated each and every word as his eyes were filled with rage. Qin Feiyong shrugged, looked at Mu Qing and said, actually, I've already seen through it. You've always wanted to compete with me, but obviously, I've won. Mu Qing was silent, only staring at Qin Feiyong. But don't worry, we'll definitely meet again. At that time, remember to work hard. Don't lose to me again, that would be embarrassing. Qin Feiyong laughed and ignored Mu Qing and the other two. He turned to look at the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and asked suspiciously, "Why isn't your mother here yet?" "I don't know either." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion shook her head and then said worriedly, "Did something happen again?" Qin Feiyong could not help but frown. Time passed breath by breath. Mu Qing and the other two did not leave. Because returning from Dragon Island to God's Island, even with Yigleo and the other two false gods, would take 2 to 3 days. As for the space-time gate, it would open tomorrow morning, so there was no need to do so. About 100 breaths passed. Whoosh! The mysterious lady and the middle-aged man finally appeared. "Why did you take so long? I thought something happened to you again." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion was immediately dissatisfied. "How can there be so many accidents in the world? We just went to the Divine City to inquire about your teacher's situation." The mysterious lady transmitted her voice. "How is teacher?" The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion asked. The mysterious lady patted her shoulder and said, "Don't worry. His life is not in danger for the time being." Then she looked at Yigleo and the other two and asked in confusion, "What's going on with them?" The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion glanced at Qin Feiyong and pursed her lips. "It's all because of this wicked guy. He deliberately called them over and teased them." Teased? The mysterious lady was stunned and asked curiously, "How did he tease them?" The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion briefly explained. After hearing this, the mysterious lady was speechless. She turned to look at Qin Feiyong and shook her head. "Brat, you're really wicked." Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly. The mysterious lady shook her head and smiled. She glanced at Mu Qing and the other two, then turned to look at a teleportation gate. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "All right, let's go." "Who exactly are you?" Yigleo asked. "Who am I?" The mysterious lady's eyes flashed coldly. "Don't worry, you'll know who I am soon." With that, she stepped into the teleportation gate. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion and the middle-aged man also walked in one after another. "Qin Feiyong, next time, I definitely won't lose to you again. I'll bet everything I have." Mu Qing suddenly spoke, staring at Qin Feiyong's back, her eyes flashing with madness. "I'll be waiting." Qin Feiyong stopped and said without looking back. Then, he entered the teleportation gate. The endless sea was vast and boundless. There were countless emperor beasts and saint beasts. And in the central sea area of the endless sea, there were more than 10 islands of various sizes. The largest island was thousands of miles long, like a continent floating on the sea. And on one of the islands, there were villages everywhere. It was hard to estimate how many there were. But there were no exceptions. Outside every village, there was a stone tablet with a giant golden tiger engraved on it. At this time, it was late at night. All the villages were closed, looking extremely deserted. At the same time, 2 men and 2 women stood side by side in the sky above the island, scanning the villages below. It was Qin Feiyong's group of 4. The mysterious lady smiled faintly. "All the tribesmen of the Sky Tiger tribe are here. You can check." "Are you sure they're all here?" Qin Feiyong frowned. There were more than 1 million people in the Sky Tiger tribe. He couldn't check them all. "Kid, am I so unworthy of your trust?" The mysterious lady glared at him angrily. "What do you think?" Qin Feiyong glanced at her indifferently. With a wave of his hand, Yan Wei appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyong smiled. "Go." "Okay." Yan Wei nodded, unable to hide the joy on his face. He scanned the villages on the island, turned into a stream of light and flew down. In a short while, the island became lively. Lights were brightly lit and noises could be heard from all directions. "Where are the divine crystals?" The mysterious lady retracted her gaze and asked Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong said, "Don't worry. I'll give them to you after I leave with them." "Leave with them? Are you kidding? You can't even protect yourself now. How are you going to protect them?" Furthermore, the Sky Tiger tribe doesn't only have a few dozen or a few hundred people. There are more than 1 million people. How are you going to settle them? The mysterious lady, the middle-aged man, and the young mistress of the Dragon Phoenix house were all shocked by Qin Feiyong's words. "I know that too. But I can't be at ease leaving them here with you. Qin Feiyong frowned. The mysterious lady said, "Are you worried that I'll use them to threaten you one day?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded without hiding anything. The mysterious lady smiled helplessly and sighed. "Actually, I'm not as bad as you think." "Is that so?" Qin Feiyong raised his head and looked at her suspiciously. "Yes. There are some things that I can't tell you yet. But I can swear that I have no ill intentions towards you now. Furthermore, I won't threaten you to do anything anymore." The mysterious lady spoke very seriously and her attitude was very sincere. There was no trace of faking it. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, "Why do I feel like I've heard a joke? Brat, do you believe that I'll kill you?" The mysterious lady's face darkened. Why was this little guy so stubborn? "Anyway, you've harmed me a lot. This time won't make a difference." Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and said indifferently, "It's actually very simple if you want me to believe you. Give me a reason to believe you. My head is about to explode." Chapter 1134. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house looked at the irritated and mysterious lady, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "You don't believe in Mother, but you should at least believe in me, right? After all, we can be considered friends in need." Qin Feiyong frowned. "I guarantee with my personality that what you think will never happen again." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house said again. Qin Feiyong glanced at the mother and daughter in front of him, his expression uncertain. Finally, he sighed deeply and looked at the two of them. "Wait a moment." After he finished speaking, he entered the castle and walked towards the iron box. Fatso frowned. "Boss, we risked our lives to snatch this. Are we really going to give it to them?" Hey, Fatso, don't be mistaken. The divine crystal was snatched by this emperor and Qin Feiyong. What does it have to do with you? The spirit snake emperor said unhappily. Fatso said angrily. What do you mean by that? Although Fat Lord did not contribute, Fat Lord is also risking his life with you. TSK. The spirit snake emperor laughed disdainfully, looked at Qin Feiyong, and said, "Although Fatso is very shameless, this emperor agrees with him. If we give the divine crystal to them like this, we will be at a loss." Then what do you mean? Qin Feiyong looked at it suspiciously. Last time, we agreed that if we snatched the divine crystal, you would agree to this emperor's request. Now, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. This emperor wants the divine arts. Of course, this emperor also knows that you don't have any extra divine arts, but now is your chance. The spirit snake emperor laughed sinisterly. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. This guy's appetite was not small, to actually keep thinking about the divine arts. I understand. After looking deeply at the spirit snake emperor, Qin Feiyong stepped forward to open the iron box, took out the divine crystal, and appeared outside again. Looking at the divinity crystal in Qin Feiyong's hand, the mysterious lady's eyes lit up with desire. Qin Feiyong was even more surprised and asked, "Can you tell me what this thing is for?" The mysterious madam rolled her eyes and said, "Don't give me that. If I tell you, you definitely won't give it to me." Qin Feiyong was extremely helpless. He lowered his head and looked at the eye crystal suspiciously, then casually threw it to the mysterious madam. The mysterious madam was startled. She quickly caught the divine crystal and glared at Qin Feiyong. She said angrily, "This is a treasure, be careful." "How precious." Qin Feiyong was curious. "Don't try to trick me." The mysterious lady snorted and lowered her head to size up the divine crystal. Her eyes shone brightly. Qin Feiyong glanced at her, then lowered his head and fell into deep thought. The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house walked to his side and asked in a low voice, "Are you thinking about where to go in the future?" "Yeah. I definitely can't stay in the Forgotten Continent, and I can't go back to the Great Qin Empire. Where should I go?" "The world is so big. Is there no place for me, Qin Feiyong?" Qin Feiyong sighed. "Now you really can't stay in the Forgotten Continent, because the main tower and the Mu family will definitely not let this matter go. And although we want to protect you, facing the alliance of the main tower and the Mu family, we are powerless." The miss of the Dragon Phoenix house said. The mysterious madam put away the divine crystal and looked at Qin Feiyong, saying, "I think you should return to the Great Qin Empire." "Why?" Qin Feiyong turned to look at her and asked suspiciously. Because as long as you return to the Great Qin Empire, even if Mu Qing can predict your location, he won't dare to bring people to cause trouble. Moreover, it has been more than half a year since you last went back. Don't you want to go back and see your mother? The mysterious madam said. Yes. But you also know that the emperor's decree only said that within 10 years, my mother and anyone related to me will not be harmed. It didn't say that they won't kill me. If I go back now, I will definitely be killed by them. Qin Feiyong said. That's right. Let's not talk about the emperor, just the imperial tutor will definitely not allow you to continue growing. But I believe that with your intelligence, you definitely have the ability to deal with it. The mysterious madam smiled. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. The mysterious madam said, Of course, this is only my personal suggestion. As for what to do, it is still up to you to decide. Think about it carefully. Qin Feiyong gritted his teeth and said, No need to think about it, I will return to the Great Qin Empire immediately. I knew you would make this choice. The mysterious madam smiled, knowing that there are tigers in the mountain, but still heading towards it. Perhaps in the eyes of others, Qin Feiyong's way of doing things was a bit stupid, but she praised it. Because no matter what difficulties one encountered, one couldn't blindly run away. Only by bravely facing them could one become braver. What about you guys? Aren't you afraid that the Great Tower and the Mu Jia will come to trouble you? Qin Feiyong looked at the three and asked. We are all fake gods. What is there to be afraid of? What's more, now that we have the divine crystal in hand, even if they find us here, they can't do anything to us. The mysterious madam sneered. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with a strange light. The mysterious madam's words were not difficult to understand. With the divine crystal in hand, the world is mine. It turned out that the importance of the divine crystal was beyond his imagination. Looking at Qin Feiyong's eyes, the mysterious madam raised her eyebrows and said, Boy, I advise you not to have any bad ideas. Qin Feiyong pursed his lips and said, Now that I have given you the divine crystal, shouldn't you give me some reward? You can't let me work for nothing, right? Doesn't the concealment art count? And those perfect battle techniques I gave you before, were they all blown by the wind? So young man, don't be too greedy. The mysterious madam said meaningfully. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? Although I don't know what the divine crystal is used for, I can imagine that even if all the perfect battle techniques are combined, they can't be compared to the divine crystal. Qin Feiyong sneered. The mysterious madam was a little angry, but she suddenly thought of something and looked at Qin Feiyong proudly and said, Now that the divine crystal is in my hands, what can you do to me if I don't give you any reward? What can I do to you? At most, I will just curse you behind your back, saying things like burning the bridge after crossing the river, shameless things like that. Qin Feiyong said indifferently. How dare you? The mysterious madam's veins were bulging. Qin Feiyong said, What's there to be afraid of? I used to curse you behind your back a lot. Little bastard, aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? The mysterious madam said angrily. Who are you to me? Will I be struck by lightning if I curse you? You think too much. Qin Feiyong snorted coldly. The mysterious madam was so angry that her body was trembling, and her eyes were filled with anger. Seeing this scene, the young lady and the middle-aged man hid at the side and snickered, their eyes meaningful. What about me? Qin Feiyong looked at the mysterious madam playfully. After this period of time, he did not find any malicious intent on the mysterious madam's face, so his mentality was relaxed. What about it? Humph. Sooner or later, you will understand how laughable your current actions are. The mysterious madam snorted and said, Don't say that I am unreasonable. I will satisfy you once more. Tell me, what do you want this time? Divine art. Qin Feiyong blurted out without hesitation. Are you deliberately looking for a beating? No. The mysterious madam was so angry that her teeth itched. The moment he opened his mouth, he was talking about the deity technique. Did he think that the deity technique was something that could be found on the market? Qin Feiyong said with a sneaky smile, Stop pretending, your daughter said that you have other divine arts. And the mysterious madam turned her head and glared at the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion panicked and glared at Qin Feiyong angrily. She looked at the mysterious madam and smiled embarrassedly. Mother, I was just saying it casually. You can't even say it casually. The mysterious madam shouted, and then looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, I don't have any divine art, but I can give you some more perfect battle arts. Stingy. Qin Fei Yang muttered. Then do you want it or not? The mysterious madam said angrily. Yes, definitely. It's a waste if you don't want it. Qin Fei Yang hurriedly nodded, and brought Lu Hong and the others, as well as Wolf King and the other beasts, out of the castle. After coming out, everyone stared at the mysterious madam with burning eyes, like a group of bandits. What are you doing? Seeing this, the mysterious madam was extremely vigilant. She felt that in the eyes of these guys, she was like a delicious cake. Didn't you say? Give us some perfect battle arts? And this time, everyone has contributed to snatching the divine crystal, so naturally, everyone has to have a share. Qin Fei Yang said with a smile. You? The mysterious madam gnashed her teeth. Why was this brat such a bastard? The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion said, Mother, just satisfy him, or else he might really scold you behind your back. Sigh. The mysterious madam sighed helplessly, swept her gaze towards Lu Hong and the others, as well as Wolf King and the other beasts, and said, To be honest, I really have to thank you all. Thank you all for silently following Qin Fei Yang all these years, helping him and taking care of him. It was your support that allowed him to reach where he is today. What do you mean? Qin Fei Yang was stunned. Lu Hong and the others also looked at each other. Why did these words sound so strange? They followed Qin Fei Yang, helped Qin Fei Yang, and took care of Qin Fei Yang. What did it have to do with this woman? On what basis did she say that she had to thank them on behalf of Qin Fei Yang? The mysterious madam did not explain and continued, I will not treat you all unfairly. Right now, I will give each of you a perfect killing battle art and a perfect support battle art. Of course, I will not give any more to those who already have a perfect battle art. Then wouldn't brother be at a disadvantage? Wolf King was dissatisfied. Because it already had the Fury of the Mad God and the Void Escape Steps, both of which were perfect battle arts. I gave you the Fury of the Mad God and the Void Escape Steps, so be content. The mysterious madam rolled her eyes at Wolf King, looked at Lu Hong and the others and said, What do you lack? Tell me. I lack a perfect support battle art. Fatso was the first to step forward. Me too. Lu Hong nodded. And this emperor? The double-winged snow eagle also hurriedly said. Whether it was the double-winged snow eagle, Fatso, or Lu Hong, their perfect killing battle arts were all given to them by the mysterious madam. The black dragon snake, phantom snake emperor, and pangolin also hurriedly ran to the mysterious madam. It seems that we don't have a chance. Viper looked at Dan Wang Kai and said with a wry smile. Dan Wang Kai also had a regretful look on his face. As one of the 10 heroes of the Azure Sea, they even had forbidden arts. Naturally, they did not lack perfect battle arts, but after all, it was better to have more skills. Chapter 1135. A moment later. Fatty, Lu Hong, the two-winged snow eagle, and the other beasts all got the perfect battle art they wanted. Qin Fei Yang also sent everyone to the castle. I can see that none of the people and beasts around you are good people. The mysterious lady rolled her eyes at Qin Fei Yang. This is cute, isn't it? Qin Fei Yang smiled, then stretched out his hand in front of the mysterious lady and said, What about me and Yen Wei? You still want it? The mysterious lady was stunned. Of course. I snatched the divine crystal from the chief pagoda master. You can't erase my credit. Qin Fei Yang said. I really don't understand. The Qin emperor is such an upright person. How can he have such a shameless descendant? If I didn't give you the concealment art, would you be able to snatch it? You still want credit? Aren't you ashamed? The mysterious lady was extremely annoyed. Qin Fei Yang said, But you can't deny that I snatched the divine crystal from the chief pagoda master. Okay. Don't say anything. I'm afraid of you. I'll give it to you. What does Yen Wei lack? The mysterious lady said. She was afraid that if she continued, she would lose her temper. Qin Fei Yang thought for a while and said, I gave him the Sky Demon 9 steps you gave me last time. He still lacks a perfect battle art. The mysterious lady took out 2 jade slips from her Chenkuan bag and threw them to Qin Fei Yang. She snorted and said, Now don't scold me behind my back. Of course not. You're such a good person. If I still scold you, wouldn't I be a heartless person? Qin Feiyong grabbed the 2 jade slips and grinned. The mysterious lady rolled her eyes. Qin Feiyong chuckled mischievously and lowered his head to check the 2 jade slips. The 2 battle arts were Tiger Taming Art and Dragon Rising Art. Tiger Taming Art had a total of 4 moves. The first 3 moves all had the lethality of a perfect battle art. The power of the 4th move was even stronger than the previous 3 moves. It had already reached the peak of a perfect battle art. Qin Feiyong was somewhat surprised. He did not expect that the mysterious madam would actually give him such a powerful killing battle art. But when he carefully looked at the soaring dragon art, his eyes suddenly lit up. The Dragon Rise incantation was even more powerful than the Tiger Taming incantation. However, what made it powerful was not the lethality of the soaring dragon art, but the fact that it could raise the user's cultivation by a small realm. Moreover, it could be stacked. For example, he was now a 4-star battle saint. When he displayed the perfect battle art, he could display the battle prowess of an 8-star battle saint. However, if he activated the soaring dragon art, he could display the battle prowess of a 9-star battle saint. If it was combined with the kill character art, it would be even more terrifying. The kill character art could be superimposed by one major realm. In addition to the soaring dragon art's minor realm, when Qin Feiyong activated the kill character art, he would be able to become a 5-star combat emperor. With the cultivation of a 5-star combat emperor and all his trump cards, he could even fight against a 9-star combat emperor. Thank you. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and raised his head to look at the mysterious madam gratefully. His greatest weakness was that his cultivation was weak. The mysterious madam gave him this soaring dragon art. It was undoubtedly a timely help, allowing his battle prowess to soar. The mysterious madam smiled faintly and said, "It's getting late. Let's hurry up and leave." Qin Feiyong nodded, then lowered his head to look at the island below and shouted, "Yan Wei!" Whoosh! Not long later, Yan Wei soared into the sky and landed in front of Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Do you want to stay here or follow me to the Great Qin Empire?" Yan Wei was stunned and asked, "What about my clansmen?" Qin Feiyong said, "They will stay here." "Is it okay to stay here?" Yan Wei was shocked and glanced at the mysterious madam and the other 2. Qin Feiyong said, "Then do you have a better place to settle them?" Yan Wei shook his head. The main tower and the Mu family would definitely not let him go. If his clansmen returned to the 9 regions, they would definitely be threatened by the main tower and the Mu family. Other than the 9 regions, there was only the Central Divine Kingdom in the Forgotten Continent. It was even more impossible for his clansmen to go to the Central Divine Kingdom. After thinking about it, it seemed that letting his clansmen stay here was indeed the best choice. Wait, wasn't there still the Great Qin Empire? Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Can you let my clansmen move to the Great Qin Empire?" "No. After being with me for so long, don't you know my situation? My situation in the Great Qin Empire is worse than here. Moreover, even if we can find a place for your clansmen to stay in the Great Qin Empire, we won't be able to move them over in a short period of time," Qin Feiyong said. Yan Wei frowned and walked to Qin Feiyong and said in a low voice, "But I can't let them stay here." Qin Feiyong secretly laughed. "Even I believe them. You should also believe them." Yan Wei nodded helplessly. Qin Feiyong said, "Then think about it carefully. Do you want to stay here? I won't force you. I respect your choice. What's there to think about? Wherever you go, I'll go." Yan Wei didn't hesitate in the slightest. Qin Feiyong patted his shoulder. He didn't need to say anything. Then, he turned to the mysterious madam and the middle-aged man and cupped his hands. "Then I'll have to trouble the 2 seniors to take care of them." The mysterious madam said, "After being together for so many years, this is the first time you've sincerely called me a senior. It's rare." Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly and turned to look at the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion. "See you again. Take care of yourself too." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion reminded. Qin Feiyong nodded and opened a teleportation gate. In the Endless Sea, one could open a teleportation gate that led directly to the 9 regions. "Let's go," Qin Feiyong said to Yan Wei and stepped into the teleportation gate without looking back. Yan Wei lowered his head and glanced at his clansmen on the island before resolutely turning around and following in. Soon, the teleportation gate disappeared from everyone's sight. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion retracted her gaze and looked at the mysterious madam. She asked in confusion, "Mother, why didn't you leave him behind? Now that we have the divine crystals, we have the ability to protect him. You haven't been with him for long, so you don't understand him. He has a fierce spirit that refuses to admit defeat. He definitely won't hide in one place just because some strong enemies have appeared. Furthermore, I don't want him to stay here either, because this won't do him any good. Instead, it will restrict his growth. The outside world is his stage." The mysterious madam laughed. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion nodded and said with a smile, "Back then, you tried every possible means to kill him, but now, you're thinking for him everywhere. It really is as the old saying goes, the world is unpredictable." "That's right. Back then, who would have thought that this little fellow was his descendant?" The mysterious madam raised her head and looked at the pitch-black night sky. It was unknown what past event she had recalled, but her expression was extremely melancholic. The first area. Above a glacier. Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei appeared out of thin air. Yan Wei looked around and asked suspiciously, "Where is this?" "Look below." Qin Feiyong scanned the area below. Yan Wei looked down and a lake entered his line of sight. The lake wasn't very big, and there was a thick layer of ice on the surface of the lake. White mist rose, and the cold air was oppressive. Qin Feiyong said, "Right now, we are in the first area, and the teleportation altar that leads to the Great Qin Empire is under this ice lake." Yan Wei's eyes suddenly revealed a strange light. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, asking, "Wasn't the Heavenly Spiral tribe also sent here? Why don't we go look for them?" Qin Feiyong was stunned, shook his head and smiled. "If you didn't remind me, I would have really forgotten about them." Shwa. Finished. With a wave of his hand, Fatso appeared and said, "The fate of the Heavenly Spiral tribe is completely up to you. Do as you see fit." Back then, the leader of the Heavenly Spiral tribe almost killed you. We definitely can't let it go just like that. Fatso's eyes flashed with killing intent. "I understand." Yan Wei, accompany him. "Remember, you must be careful," Qin Feiyong reminded. Although Mu Qing was trapped in the inland sea and could only come out in the early hours of the morning, he could still predict his approximate location. The most important thing was that the white-robed old man didn't enter the inland sea. This was what worried him. When Mu Qing predicted his approximate location, he would definitely let the white-robed old man chase after him. Although the white-robed old man was in the Central Divine Kingdom and couldn't directly open the portal to the first area, don't forget that the Mu family still had a real space-time portal. So, he couldn't let his guard down now. Fatso naturally thought of this and nodded to Qin Feiyong, turned around and flew away with Yan Wei. Boom. But at this moment, a terrifying aura descended above the three of them. Qin Feiyong was startled and quickly raised his head to look. Fatso and Qin Feiyong also hurriedly braked and stopped in the void, looking up at the sky. Immediately, the three of them changed color. They saw an old man appear out of thin air in the sky. He had white hair and wore a long robe. His aura was unfathomable. Who else could it be but the white-robed old man? How did he catch up so quickly? He even knows our exact location? Could it be that Mu Qing has already left the inland sea? Fatso and Yan Wei were bewildered. No. Mu Qing must have predicted our approximate location and sensed our purpose. Therefore, he asked him to come here directly to intercept us. This bastard. I really don't dare to be careless for a moment. Let's go. Qin Feiyong's eyes darkened. He turned into a stream of light and plunged into the ice lake below. Fatso and Qin Feiyong didn't dare to hesitate and immediately dived into the ice lake. Sure enough, he's here. The white-robed old man smiled coldly. Terrifying divine power poured down and pounced on Qin Feiyong and the other two. Boom. The entire ice lake instantly exploded. It's over. Feeling the surging divine power, Yan Wei and Fatso's hearts sank. If they were imprisoned by this divine power, they wouldn't be able to break out even if they opened the door of potential. However, Qin Feiyong was very calm. He stared at the bottom of the lake, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, with a wave of his hand, He grabbed Fatso and Qin Feiyong and instantly disappeared without a trace. Inside the ancient castle. What are we doing in the ancient castle? If we're trapped here, won't we be doomed? Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. Fatso was also suspicious. However, as if he suddenly thought of something, his eyes flashed. He looked at Yan Wei and smiled. Don't worry, let's wait for a good show. Qin Feiyong was also full of smiles. A good show? Chapter 1136. At the same time. Outside the ice lake. After Qin Feiyong and the other two entered the castle, the white-robed old man's divine might went straight to the bottom of the lake. Who dares to disturb my meditation? Immediately. A pleasant voice sounded from the bottom of the lake, but it was filled with a bone-piercing chill. Following closely, a mighty divine might rushed out from the bottom of the lake, like a torrent of beasts, rolling up monstrous waves and pouncing towards the white-robed old man standing in the air. This is... The white-robed old man was surprised. Not good. Suddenly. He seemed to have thought of something, and his face suddenly changed. Without any hesitation, he retreated like lightning. However, the speed of the divine might was even more terrifying, instantly imprisoning him in the air. Dong. At the same time, a huge snow python rushed out from the ice lake and floated in front of the white-robed old man. Its eyes seemed to be condensed from ice, emitting a great pressure. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. When the white-robed old man saw the snow python, his body and mind trembled, and he quickly apologized. If you didn't mean it, then you did it on purpose. The snow python looked at him playfully. I didn't mean it. The white-robed old man shook his head, his eyes filled with fear. Since you didn't do it on purpose, did you come here to court death? If that's the case, then I'll fulfill your wish. The snow python's eyes turned cold, raised its huge tail, and slapped the white-robed old man's body. Ah! The white-robed old man screamed. His body cracked on the spot, and blood stained the sky. Like a meteorite, he smashed into the glacier below. The snow python's strength was too strong. In front of her, even the white-robed old man who was only one step away from becoming a war god had no power to fight back. At the same time, on the surface of the ice lake, two heads popped out. It was Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei. Who is she? How can she be so strong? Yan Wei secretly asked, looking at the snow python above. His eyes were filled with fear. Qin Feiyong said, she is the guardian of the teleportation altar. According to my guess, she should be a real god. A real god? Yan Wei's eyes trembled. No wonder Qin Feiyong and Fatso said that there would be a good show to watch. What was the difference between a fake god meeting a real god and seeking death? Don't bother about them, let's go. Qin Feiyong called out and rushed to the bottom of the lake. This was not the first time he had come here, so he easily found the entrance and entered the cave below the ice lake. I didn't expect there to be such a place in the first district. Looking at the grotto and the teleportation altar, Yan Wei's face was filled with hope. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and pointed his index finger in the air. Battle chi surged out and gushed towards the teleportation altar. Wang. Very soon. The teleportation altar was activated. Whoosh. But at the same time, the snow python transformed into a meter long and appeared in the cave. Greetings, senior. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank, and he hurriedly bowed. Yan Wei was also respectful. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The snow python glanced at Yan Wei, then looked at Qin Feiyong and jokingly said, Do you think that you can slip away from under my nose? This? Qin Feiyong looked a little embarrassed. Suddenly, the snow python glanced at Yan Wei and said to Qin Feiyong, You can go, but he can't. Why? Qin Feiyong wondered. The snow python said, Because he's not from the great Qin Empire, he can't set foot in that place. There's such a rule? What about the Mu family? They also went to the great Qin Empire a lot. Why don't you care? Qin Feiyong frowned. The snow python said, That's because I didn't see it. If I saw it, I wouldn't allow them to go to the great Qin Empire. You didn't see it. Qin Feiyong was stunned and immediately smiled. That's easy. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent Yan Wei to the castle, then said, Senior, you can't see it like this. The veins on the snow python's forehead jumped. Does this kid think I'm a monkey? Just when she was about to go crazy, Qin Feiyong spoke first. Senior, there's a problem that has puzzled this junior for a long time. What's the problem? The snow python asked. Qin Feiyong suspiciously asked. Why do the state preceptor and the Black Iron Army have a time limit to enter the Forgotten Continent, but I don't? What do you think? The snow python asked. Qin Feiyong said. This junior has seriously thought about this problem. This junior thinks that senior should be protecting this junior. Protecting you? The snow python was stunned and sneered. Boy, you're too self-righteous. Qin Feiyong frowned. Then senior, why don't you tell me why? Because of your ancestor. Only your family's ancestor has that much face, not you. Do you understand? The snow python said. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. It's actually because of his ancestor again. The forefathers plant trees, the descendants enjoy the shade. This sentence is really not wrong. Because of his ancestor, Gong Sun Bei let him go. Because of his ancestor, he and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house escaped from the hands of the chief tower. Because of his ancestor, they escaped from the inland sea. Also because of the ancestor, the snow python turned a blind eye to it. Although he has never seen his ancestor, he doesn't know how much kindness he has received from his ancestor over the years. It's hard to repay. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong remembered the old man in the white robe and asked. Senior, where's the old man of the Mu family? He's kneeling outside. The snow python said lightly. Qin Feiyong was secretly speechless. Making a fake god kneel outside, I'm afraid that in the world, only this guy in front of him can do it. No matter what the reason is, I have to thank Senior for taking care of me all these years. If there's a chance in the future, Junior will definitely repay Senior. Qin Feiyong bowed and stepped on the teleportation altar, quickly disappearing. Repay. The snow python muttered to herself. But in the next moment, she couldn't help but be annoyed. Originally, she came to stop Yen Wei, but in the end, Qin Feiyong repeatedly changed the topic, and she forgot about this matter. Little guy, you dare to play tricks with me, just you wait. Next time you won't be able to finish your meal. She snorted coldly, flew out of the cave, and landed on the ice lake. She saw the old man in the white robe, kneeling on the snow. The snow python looked down at him condescendingly and said, I just heard Qin Feiyong say that your Mu family often goes to the great Qin Empire. The old man in the white robe tensed up. This is slander. Slander. The snow python sneered. Do you still remember the promise you made to me when you came to the Forgotten Continent? I remember. The old man in the white robe nodded. The snow python said. Then tell me. The old man in the white robe said. At that time, we promised that we would stay in the Forgotten Continent forever, and never set foot in the great Qin Empire again. That's right. At that time, I couldn't bear it, so I allowed you to stay in the Forgotten Continent. But what about you? It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful, but you also went against me behind my back. Now tell me, how should I resolve this matter? The snow python said lightly. Although her tone was calm, it was filled with a great pressure. The old man in the white robe's face changed. He hurriedly said, Master, we really didn't go there. It's Qin Feiyong who is slandering us. Please investigate. Still quibbling. You've disappointed me too much. Originally, if you were willing to admit your mistakes and repent, I would be merciful and let your Mu family live. But now, the snow python's eyes flashed coldly. Hand over the gate of time and space. What? The old man in the white robe's eyes trembled. The gate of time and space is the Mu family's biggest reliance. It can even be said that the gate of time and space is related to the Mu family's lifeline. Now that they want him to hand over the gate of time and space, isn't this putting the Mu family to death? The snow python said. You can choose not to hand it over, but your Mu family will be destroyed today. The old man in the white robe's face instantly turned pale. He hurriedly said, I'll hand it over immediately. As he spoke, he took out the gate of time and space. This is the Real Gate of Time and Space. Vast and mighty. The snow python looked at the gate of time and space, then looked at the old man in the white robe. This is your last chance. Take care of yourself. After saying that, She flashed and landed in front of the old man in the white robe. She rolled up the gate of time and space and entered the ice lake without looking back. The surface of the lake gradually calmed down, and a thin layer of ice slowly condensed. The old man in the white robe powerlessly collapsed on the snow. His old face was full of pain and despair. This time, he came out with full confidence to snatch the divine crystal. However, in the end, not only did he fail to snatch the divine crystal, but he also lost the 9-star war emperor. Now, even the gate of time and space is gone. This loss is too great. It can't even be described as disastrous. He regretted it in his heart. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have done it in the first place. At the same time, the hatred in his heart towards Qin Feiyong had already risen to an unprecedented level. Because all of this was caused by Qin Feiyong. Great Qin Empire. Butterfly Valley. The old man is long gone. Now, the people guarding this place are the invincible Black Army of the imperial capital. In the valley, the invincible Black Army stood straight with halberds in their hands. In a blink of an eye, there are more than 100 of them. Furthermore, these people were all battle saints. The strongest person is a deputy commander of the invincible Black Army, who is a 9-star war saint. A 9-star war saint is definitely the strongest existence in the 9 states of the Great Qin Empire. Because the strongest prefecture master in the history of the 9 states is not stronger than a 9-star war saint. For example, the ugly old woman Zhu Yu was only a 9-star war saint. Therefore, in the years that the invincible Black Army has been stationed in the spirit state, the spirit state has never been peaceful. Of course. With the invincible Black Army, Wang Hong, the current prefecture master, is only in name. Swoosh! In the sky above Butterfly Valley, a white figure appeared out of thin air. It is Qin Feiyong. Who is it? Qin Feiyong didn't hide his aura at all. Therefore, the invincible Black Army stationed in the Butterfly Valley discovered him immediately. 14th Prince. However, when they saw Qin Feiyong's real face, they all changed color. Clang! Following that, one by one, they waved their halberds and rushed into the sky, surrounding Qin Feiyong. The void here was instantly filled with a murderous aura. They really think highly of me. They sent so many people to guard here. Chapter 1137. Qin Feiyong, you shouldn't have come back. Along with a loud shout, a burly man flew up to the sky. His eyes were as cold as a blade. Greetings, Deputy Commander. The invincible Black Army bowed. Qin Feiyong turned his head to look at the burly man and said indifferently, "A 9-star battle saint is able to become the deputy commander of the invincible Black Army. It seems like the great Qin Empire has exhausted its talents. How dare you? How dare you talk to me like this with your cultivation base?" The burly man shouted. If it was in the past, he could only endure such undisguised contempt. This was because the person in front of him was the son of the Supreme Emperor. But now, this person was just a pitiful worm that everyone wanted to beat up. Even if he was killed here, no one would care. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "My cultivation base is not strong, but it is still easy for me to kill you." How arrogant! The burly man was furious. He looked at the invincible Black Army and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Have you forgotten the Emperor's order? Kill anyone who sees this thief." Boom! The invincible Black Army that surrounded Qin Feiyong suddenly unleashed their aura and attacked together. The halberds in their hands emitted a monstrous light. "Kill him," Qin Feiyong muttered to himself. If he had heard this in the past, he would have been sad and pained. But now he felt nothing. It was as if it had nothing to do with him. But he had not really let it go. He was in despair. He no longer had any hope. Without any extravagant hopes, naturally, there wouldn't be so much disappointment and emotions. Swoosh! Qin Feiyong moved his mind and Yan Wei appeared out of thin air. "Leave no one alive," Qin Feiyong said calmly. "Understood." Yan Wei glanced at the invincible Black Army that was charging at him. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Boom! The Emperor's aura exploded and shocked everyone. Everyone present was instantly imprisoned in the void, including the burly man. It's a combat emperor. Why is there a battle emperor by his side? The group of people turned pale with fright, their hearts filled with disbelief. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, "The last time I came back, I brought a group of fake gods with me. This time, I brought a battle god back. Is it that strange? Everyone's heart trembled. That's right. Even a false god could be invited, let alone a mere battle the arch. The burly man's face turned pale as he begged. Your Highness, I was wrong. Please have mercy on me. Don't kill me. Begging for mercy so soon? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Originally, he thought that as the deputy commander of the invincible Black Army, he should have some backbone, but he didn't expect that he would be scared before the battle even started. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He said to Yan Wei, keep him. All right. Yan Wei nodded. The formless emperor's aura was like a sharp blade. In the blink of an eye, it sliced through the throats of more than 100 invincible Black Army soldiers. The void here suddenly bled like a waterfall. Except for the burly man, no one was spared. All of them died on the spot. Seeing this scene, the burly man panicked even more. He was so scared that he peed his pants. Qin Feiyong turned to look at him and said indifferently, I can spare your life. You betrayed the emperor and joined me. Yes, yes. The burly man didn't hesitate at all and nodded repeatedly. Such a spineless person deserves to be killed. Yan Wei snorted coldly. You're right, but he still has value. Qin Feiyong transmitted his voice. What value? Yan Wei frowned. Qin Feiyong said to himself, I have to ask him to take me to the imperial capital and cripple his cultivation. Understood. Yan Wei's eyes flashed. He pointed his index finger in the air, and a stream of battle qi entered the burly man's lower abdomen like lightning. Ah! The burly man immediately held his lower abdomen and howled miserably. At the same time, Qin Feiyong formed a seal with both hands. A slave seal appeared and rushed into the burly man's head. Why did you come back? But at this moment, an angry voice sounded. A middle-aged man in white appeared in front of Qin Feiyong. He had a square face, a rough face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a black eye patch on his left eye. The aura he emitted was quite powerful. He was Wang Hong. Looking at Qin Feiyong, his eyes were filled with blame and worry. Qin Feiyong laughed. Long time no see. Still smiling mischievously? Wang Hong slightly raised his eyebrows and said, Do you know how dangerous your current situation is? Does it matter? Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Of course it matters. You were fine in Forgotten Continent. Why did you come back to die? Wang Hong said angrily. Die. I never thought that I was sending myself to death. Qin Feiyong said. You. Looking at Qin Feiyong's innocent expression, Wang Hong was so angry that he glared. At this moment, the burly man shouted, Wang Hong, I'm ordering you to take him down. Wang Hong glanced at the burly man, then looked at Qin Feiyong, his expression uncertain. Qin Feiyong sighed. Actually, you shouldn't have come out. If he didn't come out, Wang Hong could pretend that he didn't see him. But since he came out, as the Spirit State's mansion master, he couldn't sit idly by. But I came out. Wang Hong said. Qin Feiyong said, You and the old man are really alike, but you are both blindly loyal, do you know that? Wang Hong said, Blindly loyal or stupid, I am a subject, so I must do my duty. Sigh. I really never thought that one day we would become enemies. Qin Feiyong sighed deeply. I also never thought that there would be such a day. Wang Hong shook his head. Then make your move. I will also do my best to show my respect for you. Qin Feiyong said. Boom. The aura of a 4-star battle saint exploded. What? 4-star battle saint. The burly man's gaze trembled. How long had it been since Qin Feiyong caused havoc in the imperial city? He had already stepped into the realm of a 4-star battle saint. Wang Hong was even more incredulous. Thinking back, when this kid first entered the state capital, he was only a battle king. In just a few years, he had climbed to such a height, leaving others in the dust. However, Yan Wei frowned and sent a sound transmission to Qin Feiyong. I can see that the relationship between the two of you was very good in the past. Is it really okay for you to attack without holding back like this? He could see through Wang Hong's cultivation at a glance. He was only a battle master. Facing the current Qin Feiyong, he was no match for him. I know Wang Hong's character very well. Hiding one's strength and giving in to him is the greatest disrespect to him. Qin Feiyong said to himself. So that's how it is. Yan Wei suddenly understood. Boom. Wang Hong's body shook and his aura surged out. Even though I know that I'm no longer your opponent, I still want to try. I want to see how much you've grown. Wang Hong took a step forward and threw a punch at Qin Feiyang. Then feel it carefully. Qin Feiyang struck out with his palm. In an instant, the fist and palm collided. Boom. With a loud sound, Wang Hong's arm was torn into pieces on the spot. Blood splattered across the sky. Immediately after, like a meteorite, he smashed into the butterfly valley below. Dust and smoke rose in all directions and a deep pit appeared. Then, he never got up again. He lay at the bottom of the deep pit, his life and death unknown. However, there was a faint gratified smile on his blood-stained face. Qin Feiyang also smiled. Immediately, he turned to look at the burly man and said, "You'd better not try anything because after being controlled by the slave seal, I can clearly peek into your inner thoughts and can even erase your soul in an instant." What? The burly man's eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang said, "Quickly take the spiritual sea pill and then take us to the imperial capital." Yes. The burly man quickly nodded and took out a spiritual sea pill and put it into his mouth. Qin Feiyang didn't look at Wang Hong anymore. He landed in front of a dead soldier of the invincible Black Army. He took off the armor and put it on. Then, he swallowed an illusion pill and changed into an unfamiliar face. Time passed by breath. After the burly man repaired his sea of qi and wiped the blood off his body, he took Qin Feiyang to the secret chamber below the Butterfly Valley. As for Yan Wei, Qin Feiyang sent him to the castle. As for Wang Hong, Qin Feiyang of course would not really kill him. He just made him faint. After a while, Qin Feiyang and the burly man entered the secret chamber and came to the teleportation altar. Qin Feiyang looked at the burly man and said, "You should have family in the imperial capital, right? What do you want to do?" The burly man was surprised. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I just want to tell you, don't play any tricks. Otherwise, not only will you die, but your family will also be implicated." He was worried that this person was not afraid of death and appeared in the pagoda, exposing his identity in front of Old Man Qin. One had to know. Old Man Qin was not only a false god, but the pagoda was also located in the back mountain of the imperial palace. If his identity was exposed, he would not be able to escape even if he had a pair of wings. That was why he threatened this person so that he would completely give up. "You're a demon," the burly man shouted. Qin Feiyang said lightly, "Since you know I'm a demon, why do you still want to provoke me?" The burly man held his breath and then sighed helplessly. Battle chi surged and the teleportation altar quickly recovered. Pagoda. 9 blood-red altars were neatly arranged on the ground, emitting an ancient and cold aura. Next to each altar, there was a stone tablet with different words engraved on it. Ling state, Yun state, He state, You state, Feng state, etc. The 9 altars were dim. Suddenly, the teleportation altar of Ling state suddenly shone with a resplendent bloodlight. 2 figures appeared on the altar out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang and the burly man. At the same time as the altar recovered, the pagoda's door opened rapidly. Outside the door, an old man with white hair and a white beard stood. His white robes were spotless and his aura was otherworldly. He was the guardian of the pagoda, Old Man Qin. "Greetings, Old Man Qin." Qin Feiyang jumped down from the altar and followed behind the burly man. He walked quickly to Old Man Qin and bowed. Old Man Qin glanced at Qin Feiyang and then at the burly man, asking, "Do you have news of Qin Feiyang?" "No." The burly man shook his head. Old Man Qin frowned and shouted, "Then why did you come back? Don't you know that leaving your post without permission will result in death?" "Spare me, Old Man Qin." The burly man knelt on the ground hurriedly and said, "I have something important to do and have to return home." "Old Man Qin, please make an exception. I promise that it won't take more than 3 days." Old Man Qin frowned and said, 3 days is too long. 1 day at most. You have to return to Butterfly Valley tomorrow morning." "All right. Thank you, Old Man Qin." The burly man was grateful. With that said, he stood up and opened the teleportation gate, bringing Qin Feiyang in. Wait. But suddenly. Chapter 1138. Have we been discovered? Qin Feiyong and Old Man Qin's body stiffened. They stopped, looked at each other, braced themselves and turned to look at Old Man Qin. The burly man asked, Old Man Qin, what can I do for you? He was extremely nervous. Old Man Qin said, I heard that the Invincible Black Army and the Kirin Army are very close to the Imperial Preceptor. Qin Feiyong secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, Old Man Qin's question aroused his interest. At the same time, in the face of Old Man Qin's sudden question, the burly man was also a little unprepared. Old Man Qin looked at the burly man and said, I don't want to hear any lies. I don't dare. The burly man quickly lowered his head and said fearfully, Then say it. Old Man Qin said. The burly man hesitated for a moment, looked up at Old Man Qin and said, To be honest, it's not that we are very close to the Imperial Preceptor. It's because the Imperial Preceptor has a high status and we dare not disobey his orders. Old Man Qin said, Then what do you think of the Imperial Preceptor? After that, Old Man Qin looked at Qin Feiyong and said, You can also tell me your opinion. Qin Feiyong was stunned and hurriedly shook his head. I don't dare to talk nonsense. It doesn't matter. There's no one here except me. And what you're going to say next, I won't mention it to anyone. Old Man Qin said. Qin Feiyong turned to look at the burly man. The burly man also looked very embarrassed and didn't speak for a long time. Looking at the expressions of the two, Old Man Qin frowned and then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, You say it. Qin Feiyong said in fear, Old Man Qin, I'm just an ordinary soldier in the Invincible Black Army. How dare I evaluate the Imperial Preceptor? Just say it. Why are you talking nonsense? Moreover, because you're an ordinary soldier in the Invincible Black Army, I want to hear your opinion the most. After all, the people who are in contact with the Imperial Preceptor the most are some commanders. It's hard to guarantee that they won't be soft-mouthed. Old Man Qin glanced at the burly man as he spoke. The burly man's eyes trembled. Old Qin's words could be said to have a profound meaning. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He cupped his hands and said, Then I will speak frankly. Yes. Old Man Qin nodded. Qin Feiyong said, This lowly one thinks that Imperial Preceptor is deceiving his superiors and concealing the truth with one hand. Old Qin's eyes instantly emitted a fierce light when he heard this, and he seemed to be overbearing. He looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, How do you know? Although the Grand Preceptor always says that he is thinking for His Majesty, many people know that he has a hidden agenda. Qin Feiyong said. Continue. Old Qin said. I won't mention those trivial matters. Let's just talk about Qin Feiyong. Back then, the Imperial Tutor guessed that Qin Feiyong might be in the Forgotten Continent. Logically speaking, he should have reported such an important matter to His Majesty as soon as possible. But he didn't. He directly sent the Great Commander to the Forgotten Continent to kill Qin Feiyong. This is enough to show that his motive for killing Qin Feiyong is not simple. There is one more thing. This lowly one heard that the Imperial Preceptor once went to the Forgotten Continent alone. Qin Feiyong said. Old Qin's eyes flashed. He was silent. Qin Feiyong also did not say anything, because he believed that with Old Qin's intelligence, he would definitely be able to hear something from his words. For him, this could be considered a piece of good news, because Old Qin definitely did not ask this on a whim. He definitely already suspected the Imperial Preceptor. A moment later, Old Qin waved his hand and said, Okay, you can leave. This lowly one will take his leave. Qin Feiyong and the burly man bowed and saluted. Then, they opened another teleportation gate and walked in one after another. Inner City. In a luxurious mansion, in front of a hall, Qin Feiyong and the burly man appeared out of thin air. Sir. Outside the main hall, 4 guards were standing straight. Seeing the burly man suddenly appear, the 4 were stunned. Sir, aren't you in the spirit state? Why did you suddenly come back? Could it be that you already know Qin Feiyong's whereabouts? When they came back to their senses, the 4 hurriedly went up and asked. There is still no news of Qin Feiyong. This time, I came back to take care of something. You guys guard outside. Without my order, no one is allowed to come in. The burly man glanced at the 4 and ordered. Then, he led Qin Feiyong straight into the hall. After closing the door, The burly man turned to Qin Feiyong and said, I have brought you into the imperial capital. Now, shouldn't you also remove the slave seal? Do you think I am stupid? If I remove the slave seal now, you will immediately inform the imperial preceptor and the emperor. Then, won't I become a turtle in a jar? Qin Feiyong sneered. The burly man's eyes darkened as he asked, Then, when will you be willing to remove the slave seal? Don't be hasty. When I am safe, I will naturally set you free. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. The burly man said in a deep voice, This time you came back to see the Empress. But now, the Empress is imprisoned in the Violet Light Palace and is guarded by the Kirin army. Without my help, you can't enter at all. Violet Light Palace. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists as a cold light flashed in his eyes. He glanced at the burly man and sneered, If you want to use this to threaten me, then you are gravely mistaken. With that, he took out the image crystal. Bas. A moment later, a middle-aged man appeared in the void. He was thin but as straight as a pine tree. He wore a purple armor, and his hair was mottled with white hair. He exuded an aura of vicissitudes. And on his battle armor, there was an eye-catching Qilin pattern. That's right. He was the commander of the Kirin army. You are. Looking at Qin Feiyong, the commander of the Kirin army had a trace of suspicion on his face. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, We haven't seen each other for half a year. Have you already forgotten me? Haven't seen each other for half a year? The commander of the Kirin army was even more confused. Looks like I need to remind you. Qin Feiyong smiled. With a slight thought, he activated the slave seal. The commander of the Kirin army immediately held his head and cried out in pain. Qin Feiyong stopped activating the slave seal and smiled. Now, do you know who I am? It's you. You dare to come back. The commander of the Kirin army looked at Qin Feiyong in disbelief. Ever since he was controlled by Qin Feiyong, he had been trying to find a way to break the slave seal, but no matter what he did, he could not break it. So, when he felt the familiar pain, he immediately knew who the person in front of him was. Come to my place right now. I'm at the mansion of the deputy commander of the Invincible Black Army. Qin Feiyong then gave the commander of the Kirin army a set of coordinates. In less than 3 breaths, the commander of the Kirin army landed in the Grand Hall and looked at Qin Feiyong with a trace of surprise in his eyes. He asked, You've reached the 4-star Battle Saint realm? Qin Feiyong nodded. Good job. The commander of the Kirin army gave him a thumbs up. Qin Feiyong smiled and asked, How's my mother? The commander of the Kirin army didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at the burly man. Qin Feiyong thought to himself, Don't worry. When this is over, I'll make him disappear from the spiritual state. The commander of the Kirin army narrowed his eyes and sighed. Can you stop messing around? This won't do you any good. Do you think there's any room for improvement in my relationship with the emperor? Qin Feiyong sneered. Why not? As long as you lower your head and apologize, I'm sure the emperor will forgive you. The commander of the Kirin army said. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I lower my head and apologize to him? He's the one who should apologize. Qin Feiyong said. Alas. The commander of the Kirin army sighed deeply and said with a smile, Although Her Majesty was sent to the Violet Light Palace, she's been doing well since she saw you last time. Her complexion is much better than before. Qin Feiyong asked, Has he visited my mother? Of course, he was referring to the emperor. No. The commander of the Kirin army shook his head and said, Are you disappointed? I've never expected anything. Why would I be disappointed? Qin Feiyong sneered and said, I want to see my mother. This. The commander of the Kirin army looked troubled. You don't have a choice. Qin Feiyong said. Okay. The commander of the Kirin army nodded and took out a set of Kirin army armor and handed it to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong took off the Invincible Black Army's armor and quickly put it on. Then, he looked at the commander of the Qilin army and said, Last time, you betrayed me in the Divine Penitentiary and almost caused me to lose my life. Until now I still remember it. If you dare to play any tricks this time, I will definitely not show mercy. The commander of the Kirin army smiled bitterly and opened a portal. He turned around and walked in. Wait for me here. Qin Feiyong instructed the tall and sturdy man. Then, he turned around and followed in. The Violet Light Palace. It was located in the outskirts of the palace. It was very remote and only the unfavored concubines would be sent here. In other words, it was equivalent to the Cold Palace. Once the concubines were sent here, their lives were basically hopeless. This was why Qin Feiyong was so angry when he heard about the Violet Light Palace. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong and the burly man appeared in front of a hall. Greetings, Commander. Outside the main hall, the Qilin army was on guard every 3 steps and a sentry every 7 steps. They were extremely vigilant. The commander of the Kirin army asked, "Where is Her Majesty?" One of them said respectfully, "Her Majesty is inside." "Open the door." The commander of the Kirin army said. "Yes." The man turned around and walked to the door of the hall and pushed it open. The commander of the Kirin army strode in with Qin Feiyong. The decoration in the hall was very simple. Except for a table and a few stools, there was nothing else. It looked empty and cold. The only tables and stools in the room were also very old and shabby. But it was very clean and spotless. However, Qin Feiyong didn't see his mother in the hall. The commander of the Kirin army said, "Her Majesty should be on the 2nd floor. Go up quickly. I'll wait for you downstairs." However, Qin Feiyong didn't move. He looked at the commander of the Kirin army with a cold light in his eyes. The commander of the Kirin army sighed and said, "Don't worry. I won't inform His Majesty and the state preceptor this time." "You'd better." A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyong's eyes. He took off the armor on his body, and took out a pure white robe from his Chenkuan bag. He put it on neatly, and then took a facial restoration pill. After that, he recovered his true appearance, and walked towards the 2nd floor. At this moment, a woman in white was sitting at a wooden table in the hall on the 2nd floor. Although her clothes were a bit old, it didn't affect her temperament. Chapter 1139. On the table. There was water, flour, and sugar. The woman sat in front of the table with a rosy face, making all kinds of exquisite pastries. 2 maids sat beside her to help. One of the maids said with a smile, "Your Highness, if His Highness knows that you make so many pastries for him every day, he will be so touched." "Really?" the woman in white asked with a smile. "Of course. I just don't know when His Highness will come back." The 2 female attendants spoke, and there was a trace of disappointment on their faces. The woman in white looked up outside the window and said with a smile, "He will come back sooner or later." Tada! Before she finished speaking, there was a sound of footsteps. Someone is coming? Who would come here? It can't be His Majesty, can it? The 2 maids heard the footsteps and immediately looked up at the stairs outside with a trace of suspicion on their faces. "Let's go and see." The woman in white smiled. "Okay." The 2 maids put down what they were doing and got up to walk to the stairs. But after taking 2 steps, they were stunned. At the entrance of the staircase, a familiar figure slowly walked up. "Are my eyes playing tricks on me?" The 2 maids looked at each other for a long time. Their faces were full of disbelief. When they rubbed their eyes and looked again, they saw that the familiar figure was already standing outside the hall. That's right. This person was Qin Feiyong. He stood outside the door and looked at his mother's back. His eyes couldn't help but warm up. At the same time, the woman in white also noticed the reaction of the 2 maids. She looked at the 2 of them in confusion and asked with a smile, "Who is it that made you so surprised?" "It's..." The 2 maids pointed at Qin Feiyong outside the door and stammered, unable to say a complete sentence for a long time. The more the woman in white looked, the more curious she became, so she turned to look outside the door. Immediately, the smile on her face froze. "Mother," Qin Feiyong called softly, tears flowing down uncontrollably. Hearing this familiar call, the woman in white trembled and slowly got up. She looked at Qin Feiyong in a daze, feeling as if she was dreaming. "Mother, I'm back." Qin Feiyong muttered softly as he walked towards his mother. Even when Qin Feiyong walked in front of her, the white-clothed woman still hadn't come back to her senses. "Wait." Suddenly, the 2 maids seemed to have thought of something. They stepped in front of the white-clothed woman and looked at Qin Feiyong vigilantly. Qin Feiyong was stunned. What did he mean? The white-clothed woman finally regained her senses and looked at the two of them in confusion. Your Majesty. His Majesty went to the Forgotten Continent. He shouldn't have returned so quickly. Furthermore, even if Your Highness returns, the invincible Black Army guarding the Butterfly Valley will definitely stop Your Highness and immediately report it to Her Majesty. But now, there's no movement from the Imperial Palace at all. So we suspect that he's an imposter. Qin Feiyong was quite surprised by the two maids' logical analysis. He didn't expect that the two maids by his mother's side were so smart. Of course. He definitely wouldn't be angry because of this. Because the reason why these two maids were so vigilant was for his mother's safety. In other words, these two maids were sincere and loyal to his mother's side. After listening to the two maids' words, the white-clothed woman's eyebrows also had a trace of vigilance. Qin Feiyong didn't say anything. He directly took out the Heaven's Eye Stone and held it in his hand. Time passed breath by breath. The Heaven's Eye Stone didn't react at all. Qin Feiyong's appearance also didn't change at all. It's really you, Feiyong? The white-clothed woman looked at the Heaven's Eye Stone and looked at Qin Feiyong's face. Her eyes couldn't help but become misty. Mother! Qin Feiyong put away the Heaven's Eye Stone and was about to dive into his mother's arms to enjoy the long-lost motherly love. But at this moment, one of the maids stretched out her hand and stopped Qin Feiyong. What else do you want? Qin Feiyong was a little annoyed. The maid took out another Heaven's Eye Stone from her Chenkuan bag and handed it to Qin Feiyong, saying, I can't help but suspect that your Heaven's Eye Stone has been tampered with. So, I have to try again with my Heaven's Eye Stone. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. The joy of reuniting after a long time disappeared in an instant. He grabbed the Heaven's Eye Stone. A moment later, the Heaven's Eye Stone and his face still didn't change at all. Qin Feiyong looked at the two maids and said, Sisters, do you believe me now? This? The two women looked at each other. Ecstasy crawled up their faces in an instant. They hurriedly knelt on one knee and said respectfully, Greetings, Your Highness. Qin Feiyong rubbed his forehead, his face full of helplessness. The white-clothed woman smiled and said, Feiyong, don't blame them. They have good intentions. I know. Qin Feiyong nodded. He looked at the two maids and said with a smile, Both of you get up. I'm no longer Your Highness. Don't be so courteous to me. No. In our eyes, you've always been our 14th Highness. The two maids got up and looked at Qin Feiyong with resolute eyes. Qin Feiyong smiled and looked at his mother's face. Indeed, as the commander of the Kirin army said, his mother's condition was much better than before. She looked full of energy. Come, let mother see if you've changed. The white-clothed woman grabbed Qin Feiyong's hand and sat by the wooden table. She carefully looked at Qin Feiyong from head to toe. Qin Feiyong remained silent with a smile on his face. A moment later, the white-clothed woman smiled and said, You've changed. You've become more mature, more steady, and more charming. There should be many girls who like you. Mother, Qin Feiyong's face turned red. The two maids looked at each other and couldn't help but snicker. You're still laughing? Qin Feiyong stared at them. He had a lot of things to say to his mother, but he didn't know what to say after these two girls made fun of him. The two girls had been with the white-clothed woman for many years. They were loyal and devoted. When they saw Qin Feiyong staring at them, not only were they not afraid, they even stuck out their tongues at Qin Feiyong. They looked quite cute. Qin Feiyong shook his head helplessly. Your Highness, when did you come back? Why is there no movement at all? Yeah, isn't it strange? Did Your Highness bribe the invincible Black Army in Butterfly Valley? The two girls asked curiously. Yeah, Feiyong, what's going on? The white-clothed woman also thought of this and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly and said, How can I bribe them? However, I can still kill them. Kill them? I heard that the invincible Black Army isn't the only one guarding Butterfly Valley. There's also a deputy commander of the invincible Black Army. He is a 9-star battle saint. The two maids were bewildered. So what if he's a 9-star battle saint? Qin Feiyong sneered. The two maids held their breaths. Aren't these words too domineering? The white-clothed woman was slightly taken aback. Then, she carefully sized up Qin Feiyong's cultivation. Her eyes suddenly lit up and said, You've broken through to 4-star battle saint? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. So fast. Your Highness is indeed the #1 monstrous genius of the great Qin Empire. The two maids were shocked and their eyes were filled with admiration. However, one of the maids quickly said, "That's not right. Even if your Highness is a 4-star battle saint, it's impossible for you to kill a 9-star battle saint. I say, why do you have so many questions? Can't you let me get along with my mother?" Qin Feiyong was angry. "Aren't we just happy? Since your Highness is impatient, we won't ask any more." The two maids smiled embarrassedly and retreated behind the white-clothed woman. Then they kept quiet. Qin Feiyong was extremely helpless. He looked at the white-clothed woman and asked in confusion, "Mother, isn't it forbidden to bring maids into the Amethyst Palace? Why are they here?" "We have to thank the commander of the Kirin army for this. Yes, he's a good person." The two maids spoke again. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyong frowned. "When Her Highness was sent to the Amethyst Palace, we also wanted to come with her. After all, Her Highness has treated us like family all these years. We couldn't bear to part with her. But His Majesty didn't allow it. He said that the people of the Cold Palace didn't need maids to serve them." Later, the commander of the Kirin army came to visit Her Highness. Seeing that Her Highness was too lonely and bored here, he went to His Majesty to plead for Her Highness. After several pleas, His Majesty finally agreed to let us come over to accompany Her Highness. The two maids sighed. Hearing these words, Qin Feiyong couldn't help but clench his fists. As the saying goes, a day together as husband and wife means endless devotion for the rest of your life. Was there a need to go so far? Not even 2 maidservants? All right, it's all in the past. Don't mention it again." The white-clothed woman waved her hand and smiled. Looking at Qin Feiyong, she said, "Tell me, what have you been doing in the Forgotten Continent for the past half a year?" "Okay." Qin Feiyong nodded. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he recounted his experiences during this period without holding back. The white-clothed woman was shocked to hear it. Her heart ached and she was proud. Her heart ached because in just a few months, he had experienced so many hardships. Her pride was because Qin Feiyong was able to survive under the pursuit of so many powerhouses. Just this ability alone was enough to leave anyone in the dust. It's all Mother's fault for not being able to give you a peaceful environment, causing you to encounter so many setbacks at such a young age. She blamed herself. No, I have never blamed Mother, nor do I have the right to blame Mother. On the contrary, I hate myself. Why am I so weak that I have to get permission from others to stay by my mother's side? Qin Feiyong lowered his head, his hands tightly clenched together. Looking at Qin Feiyong's pained expression, the two maids' hearts ached and tears flowed down. The white-clothed woman couldn't help but feel sad. Qin Feiyong raised his head and looked at the three of them. Releasing his hands, he smiled and said, "It's not easy to meet Mother. Let's not talk about these unhappy things." Yes, let's not talk about it." The white-clothed woman nodded, then looked at the two maids, pointed at the pastries on the table, and said with a smile, "Go steam these pastries and let Feiyong have a taste." Pastries? At this time, Qin Feiyong noticed that there were all kinds of pastries on the table. He asked suspiciously, "Mother, you're the only one here. Why did you make so many pastries?" One of the maids said, "Her Majesty made these especially for you." "For me?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and said in surprise, "Mother knew that I would come back today?" "No." The white-clothed woman shook her head. Qin Feiyong was stunned and even more puzzled. "She didn't know, but she made so many?" "Your Highness, you don't know, but ever since you left, Her Majesty has been making these pastries every day. Because Her Majesty didn't know when you would come back. She just hoped that you could eat the pastries she made the moment you came back so that you could feel the warmth of home." Chapter 1140. Every day. Qin Feiyong trembled both physically and mentally as he looked at the woman in white. The woman in white smiled and said, "Now that you've grown up, there's nothing I can do for you. I can only do these for you." "These are enough." Qin Feiyong nodded hard. His voice was sobbing as he tried to control the emotions that were about to collapse in his heart. Although this was just a small matter, anyone could do it once in a while. But day after day, year after year, He believed that no one in the world could do it except his great mother. Every single one of these pastries represented her longing and motherly love. Glancing at Qin Feiyong, the two maids didn't say anything. They silently cleaned up the pastries on the table, feeling sad. Qin Feiyong and the woman in white were also silent. The atmosphere in the hall seemed a little heavy. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong gritted his teeth and looked at the woman in white, saying, "Mother, come with me." The woman in white was stunned. She shook her head and was about to speak. Qin Feiyong said again, "I know Mother has her difficulties and can't leave the capital, but it's okay to leave for a while, right? I just want to live with Mother alone for a while, even if it's only for a month or even half a month." The woman in white lowered her head and didn't say anything. Alas! At this time, a sigh sounded. Then, the commander of the Kirin army walked into the hall and looked at the woman in white, saying, "Your Majesty, if you just leave for a month or so, it shouldn't be a problem." Qin Feiyong, the woman in white, and the two maids immediately looked up at the commander of the Kirin army. The commander of the Kirin army said, "His Majesty and the state preceptor won't come here unless something important happens. So as long as we don't say anything, no one will know that you've left. I'll try my best to hold them back and not let them come here while you're away. But what if they find out? Not only you will be implicated, but they will also be held accountable." The woman in white said, "Your Majesty, we're not afraid." The two maids immediately said in unison. The commander of the Kirin army smiled and said, "I'm not afraid. At worst, I'll be dismissed." The woman in white shook her head. She looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Feiyong, I also want to go out with you and have a look. However, I have already killed Qin Zhong and Qin Yi. I can't implicate them anymore. Can you understand?" Qin Feiyong closed his eyes and nodded painfully. "I understand, Empress." The two maids still wanted to say something. However, the white-clothed woman frowned and shouted, "Don't forget who you are." The two maids turned pale and didn't dare to persuade him again. They took the pastries and left. Although the white-clothed woman was very amiable right now, once she got angry, let alone these maids, even the civil and military officials would be afraid. The Qilin army commander sighed deeply and didn't say anything more. He turned around and left silently. The woman in white looked at Qin Feiyong guiltily and said with a smile, "Child, can you forgive your mother?" "Mother, you're too serious." Qin Feiyong squeezed out a stiff smile and asked, "By the way, how is the little prince now?" The woman in white smiled and said, "Your father cares about him and takes care of him. Of course, he's very good." Qin Feiyong suddenly stood up and said angrily, "He's not my father." The woman in white's smile froze. Qin Feiyong immediately realized that he had lost his composure. He quickly lowered his head and said, "I'm sorry, Mother. I shouldn't be angry at you. It's okay." The woman in white waved her hand, but her eyes were a little sad. When would the grudge between this father and son be resolved? After a while, the two maids returned with 2 plates of piping hot pastries. The woman in white grabbed a piece of pastry and handed it to Qin Feiyong. She smiled and said, "Eat some." Qin Feiyong nodded and took a bite. Suddenly, his eyes were filled with tears. It still tasted the same as when he was young. "Eat more if you like it." The woman in white smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyong held back his collapsing emotions. He picked up the jade plate and stuffed the pastries into his mouth one by one. His mouth couldn't hold them all. He didn't know what to say. But he knew that he had to finish these pastries. Because these were made for him by his mother. It was his mother's love for him. When the two maids saw this scene, they silently shed tears. They felt injustice for Qin Feiyong. He was such a good prince. Why did the emperor treat him so ruthlessly? He didn't want much. He just wanted to be with his mother. And in the world, which child didn't want to be with his mother? However, the emperor wanted to deprive her of even this. She had to meet him secretly. That was too cruel. The 2 plates of pastries were wolfed down by Qin Feiyong just like that. He put down the jade plate, wiped the tears on his face, got up, looked at the woman in white, and said, "Mother, I'm leaving." "So soon?" The woman in white was a little caught off guard. "I have something important to do," Qin Feiyong said. The woman in white got up and said, "Well, you have to take good care of yourself outside. Don't tire yourself out." "I know." Qin Feiyong nodded, turned to the two maids, bowed and said, "I'll have to trouble you two to take good care of my mother in the future." "We will." The two maids nodded. Qin Feiyong knelt on the ground. After kowtowing to his mother 3 times, he got up resolutely and quickly disappeared from the sight of the three. His Highness doesn't have anything important to do. He doesn't want to stay any longer. One of the maids sighed. Yes. His Highness's love for Her Highness is deep in his bones. He's afraid that the longer he stays, the more reluctant he will be to leave Her Highness. The other maid sighed in a low voice. Hearing the two maids' words, the woman in white trembled and murmured, "Feiyong, I'm sorry." Back to Qin Feiyong. He walked down the stairs silently. Just as the two maids said, he didn't want to stay any longer. He was afraid that if he stayed any longer, he would be reluctant to leave his mother. Now, as long as he knew that his mother was well, he could rest assured. "Why did you come down so quickly?" The commander of the Kirin army stood in the center of the hall and asked Qin Feiyong. But when he saw the tears on Qin Feiyong's face, he regretted asking that. Qin Feiyong didn't answer him. He said, "Help me keep an eye out. I don't want my mother to be hurt again." After saying that, he opened a teleportation door. The commander of the Kirin army nodded and asked, "What's your next plan?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyong shook his head. His eyes were full of confusion. Then, he walked into the portal without looking back. The next moment, he appeared beside the burly man, put on the armor of the invincible Black Army, and changed his appearance. Then he said lightly, "Let's go." "Okay." The burly man nodded. About 100 breaths later, the two of them arrived in the sky above the Butterfly Valley again. Qin Feiyong took off his armor and looked down. The corpses of the invincible Black Army soldiers who died in the hands of Yan Wei were still there. However, Wang Hong was nowhere to be seen. He should have returned to the city. "Can you help me remove the slave seal now?" The burly man looked at Qin Feiyong's back and asked anxiously. Qin Feiyong didn't answer. With a thought, he erased the burly man's soul. The burly man didn't even have the chance to scream before he fell down. "The world is so big. Where should I go now?" Qin Feiyong looked at the sky and muttered to himself. Then, he stepped into the air and gradually disappeared into the vast sky. He was completely lost. He didn't know what to do. He even doubted whether everything he had done and persevered for all these years had any meaning. Next, he was just like a walking corpse, walking aimlessly. He went to the city. He saw Luo Chenxue, Mermaid Princess, Lu Yun, Lin Yi, Yan Nanshan, Yin Yuan Ming. He visited everyone who was related to him one by one. He even visited his former opponents or some people who were not close to him, such as Huang San, who was a passerby in his life. However, he didn't show up, nor did he greet them. He hid his cultivation and disguised himself as a stranger. He stood in the crowd and looked at them from afar. He didn't know why he did this. He just felt empty in his heart. What did he want to fill? Next, he went to Yen City and Black Bear City. There were many acquaintances in these two places, such as Elder Wan of the Martial Arts Hall, the beautiful woman Ji Shui, and Li Ji. There was also the Ling family, which was Ling Yunfei's clansman. There was also the Jiang family, which was Jiang Zhengyi's clansman. He also went to see Luo Qingzhu's cousin, Jiang Wei. This person was an out-and-out playboy back then. However, after being taught a lesson by him, he restrained himself. After all these years, Jiang Wei's previous bad habits had been completely changed. He had become a good young man that everyone praised. His cultivation had also improved a lot. He was now a 9-star battle monarch. 9-star battle monarch was naturally incomparable to Qin Feiyong. However, in the entire Yan County, he was considered one of the best among the younger generation. However, Qin Feiyong still didn't greet anyone. He walked silently on the street like a loner. Finally, he returned to Iron Ox Town. Inside a simple and crude tea house, Qin Feiyong was wearing a set of shabby linen clothes. He was sitting by a window, drinking bitter tea while scanning the streets outside. Iron Ox Town hadn't changed much over the years. Most people were still very simple and amiable. However, due to Lin Chang's death, the former Lin family had long since fallen from grace and had declined significantly. The Zhao family was still there. The Zhao family was Zhao Shuang'er's family. However, the Zhao family wasn't like the Lin family. Under the leadership of Zhao Shuang'er's grandfather, the current Zhao family was several times stronger than before. Excluding the martial arts hall and Dan Hall, it was already the strongest overlord of Iron Ox Town. Zhao family. Zhao Shuang'er. If Zhao Shuang'er didn't die, perhaps the Zhao family today would be even stronger. Qin Feiyang whispered. Back then in the Swallowpan Mountain Range, the scene of Fengling Air, Zhao Shuang'er, Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, and Jiang Zhengyi being killed by Xueqi and the others was still vivid in his mind. If everyone didn't die, aside from Jiang Zhengyi, with the talent of Luo Qingzhu and the others, they would probably be the same as Lin Yi, the pride of the state capital. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed, took out a few gold coins, put them on the table, got up, and left Iron Ox Town. In the end, he returned to the place where he had lived with Uncle Yuan for 5 years. Over the years, this place had already changed beyond recognition. Even the burned wooden building had been covered by vegetation. However, although everything no longer existed, and Uncle Yuan had left without a trace, Qin Feiyang's heart calmed down as soon as he came here. Although I was born in the imperial capital and my mother is also in the imperial capital, this is my home. Chapter 1141. After that, Qin Feiyang did not go anywhere else. It took him 3 days to build a courtyard. He also built an artificial lake in front of the courtyard. From then on, Qin Feiyang stayed here. During the day, he fished by the lake. At night, he cultivated in the courtyard. He had 3 meals a day, rain or shine. His empty heart became more and more full with each passing day as he lived such a peaceful life. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Boom. That night, his cultivation level broke through to a 5-star battle saint. However, the breakthrough did not disturb his peaceful life. Everything was still the same as before. He was like a hermit who lived in seclusion in the forest. He did not pay attention to the outside world and lived an ordinary life. One day in the morning, a burly man in golden armor landed in the sky above Butterfly Valley. Where is he? Looking at the dead silent Butterfly Valley, the burly man in golden armor could not help but frown. Suddenly, he fixed his gaze on a certain spot below. There were hundreds of corpses lying on the ground and there were signs of decomposition. What happened? The burly man in golden armor was in disbelief. Where is Wang Hong? Suddenly, he raised his head and roared. His voice was as loud as a bell and pierced through the clouds. Swish! Soon, Wang Hong appeared in the sky above Butterfly Valley. Looking at the corpses below, his expression changed. The burly man in golden armor looked at Wang Hong and asked gloomily, "What happened?" "I don't know." Wang Hong shook his head. Hundreds of invincible Black Army soldiers were killed, including a deputy commander. "You tell me that you don't know?" The burly man in golden armor was furious. Wang Hong's body trembled. He quickly said, "I really don't know. I have been in the city all this time and have never been to Butterfly Valley." The burly man in golden armor looked at Wang Hong carefully. Seeing that Wang Hong was not lying, he asked, "You didn't hear anything?" "No." Wang Hong shook his head again. In fact, he happened to be in Butterfly Valley at that time. If he denied it now, it was obvious that he was protecting Qin Feiyang. This is strange. Who has the ability to kill these invincible Black Army soldiers silently? The golden-armored man furrowed his brows. Wang Hong nodded and said, "It is indeed very strange. The deputy commander is a 9-star battle saint. To be able to kill him silently, this person's strength should be." Speaking of which, both of their eyes trembled as they exclaimed in unison, "Battle the Arch!" The golden-armored man's face darkened as he asked in surprise, "Could it be that Qin Feiyang has returned?" "Qin Feiyang?" Wang Hong was startled, then shook his head. "I don't think it's him, because he's a very smart person. It's impossible for him to come back and die. Furthermore, with his cultivation, it's impossible for him to break through to the War King so quickly." "That makes sense. But it's too strange for someone to die in Butterfly Valley. I'll return to the Imperial capital immediately and report this matter. You should bring some people to investigate as well. See if there are any suspicious people in the city recently. If there is, no matter who it is, act first and report later." A cold light flashed in the golden-armored man's eyes, and then he rushed toward the teleportation altar in the secret chamber below. "Farewell, my lord." Wang Hong bowed to see him off. After the golden-armored man disappeared, Wang Hong looked up at the sky and murmured, "It seems that the spiritual state is about to change." Then, he opened a portal and left. Noon. The golden-armored man descended on the Butterfly Valley again. But this time, he wasn't alone. He was followed by a large group of invincible Black Army soldiers. At a glance, there were at least 1,000 people. Each of them was emitting a murderous aura. The golden-armored man yelled, "Divide into 10 teams of 100 people each. Start from the Imperial capital and start a thorough search. Bring back all the people and beasts above the War Saint level." Understood. The invincible Black Army soldiers roared and scattered, disappearing in all directions like lightning. Meanwhile, in the godly palace of the Imperial capital, in a certain alchemy room, a white-clothed young man sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, meditating. Dong! Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The white-clothed young man opened his eyes and looked at the stone door. "Come in." The stone door opened, and a red-haired man in his 20s walked into the cultivation room. He cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, master." "What's the matter?" the white-clothed young man asked. The red-haired man said, "I just received news that the invincible Black Army soldiers guarding the Butterfly Valley were all killed, including the deputy commander." "What?" The white-clothed young man stood up with shock in his eyes. The red-haired man said, "Master, do you think he came back?" "You mean Qin Feiyang?" the white-clothed young man asked. "Those invincible Black Army soldiers are very powerful. No one in the spiritual state can kill them. Besides, who doesn't know the name of the invincible Black Army in the Empire of Great Qin? Ordinary people don't dare to touch them. Most importantly, this happened in the Butterfly Valley. So, only Qin Feiyang could do it." The red-haired man said. "That makes sense." The white-clothed young man nodded. "I also found out that the dead vice-commander made a trip back to the Imperial capital 3 months ago. Soon after, he left again." The red-haired man said. "He went back to the Imperial capital." The white-clothed young man's eyes flashed as he asked, "How long has it been since the invincible Black Army soldiers died in the Butterfly Valley?" The red-haired man said, "I'm not sure, but I heard that the corpses were rotten. If I remember correctly, the weakest invincible Black Army soldiers guarding the Butterfly Valley was a 1-star battle saint. It would take at least 2 to 3 months for the corpses to rot. Based on this, the deputy commander should have died not long after he returned to the Butterfly Valley. It seems that the murderer is most likely Qin Feiyang." The white-clothed young man's eyes flashed. "What should we do now?" the red-haired man asked. The white-clothed young man waved his hand and said, "Don't worry about this. I will arrange it. You just need to investigate the movements of the Emperor and the others." "Yes. Then I will take my leave." The red-haired man bowed to the white-clothed young man and turned to leave the alchemy room. "Qin Feiyang, ever since your bloodline power reverted to its ancestral state, I have been waiting for you to come back. Now, you have finally come back. I really want to know what kind of expression you will have when you find out my other identity," the white-clothed young man murmured. Before he could finish his sentence, he disappeared without a trace. 1 day. 3 days. 5 days. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Thousands of invincible Black Army soldiers had entered the Yan and Pan counties. Because these 2 counties were under the jurisdiction of the spiritual state, the arrival of the invincible Black Army caused the people of these 2 counties to be in a constant state of panic. In the past, they didn't know what the invincible Black Army was. But over the years, the invincible Black Army had been stationed in the Imperial capital. 1 person told 10, and 10 told 100, and everyone knew about it. Therefore, when a large number of invincible Black Army soldiers appeared, everyone was in danger. However, Qin Feiyang didn't know about all this, and he didn't want to know. But it didn't mean that he didn't expect it. In fact, he had expected all of this. Because even if Wang Hong didn't report it to the Imperial capital, the people in the Imperial capital would find out sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. However, even if he expected it, he wasn't worried at all. He would deal with whatever came his way. Some things couldn't be avoided even if you wanted to. The most important thing was that he didn't want to think about these problems now. He just wanted to settle down quietly for a while. Another few days passed. In the morning, as usual, Qin Feiyong woke up from his cultivation early in the morning and sat by the lake to fish quietly. The sun rose, and the golden sunlight spread over the lake. A gentle breeze blew from the mountain stream in the distance, and the lake sparkled. Everything was so quiet and peaceful. Boom! Suddenly, Qin Feiyong sensed from afar that dozens of powerful auras appeared in the sky above the Iron Bull town. Each of these auras contained a terrifying saint aura. "They're here," he muttered to himself without any expression on his face. He didn't even look up in the direction of the Iron Bull town. He kept looking at the floating on the lake. In fact, there were no fish in this lake at all. Because when he built this artificial lake, he didn't put any fish in. And he sat by the lake every day fishing, not really fishing, but cultivating his body and mind. In other words, he wasn't fishing for fish, but for mind. But he knew that he didn't have much time here. Because everyone in the Iron Bull town knew that he used to live here, and the invincible Black Army would definitely not forget to search here. "You're really here?" Suddenly, a hearty laugh sounded. This voice. Qin Feiyong frowned and looked up. He saw a young man in white appear out of thin air above the lake. Qin Feiyong couldn't be more familiar with that face. It was Lu Xingqian. Qin Feiyong asked suspiciously, "Why are you here? Why can't I be here?" Lu Xingqian asked back. He took a step forward and landed beside Qin Feiyong. "No. I mean, how did you get out of the Imperial City?" Qin Feiyong said. "One had to know. From the Imperial City to the spiritual state, one had to pass through the pagoda. And the pagoda was guarded by Elder Qin. Very few people in the world could sneak into the pagoda in front of Elder Qin." Lu Xingqian laughed. "Have you forgotten? My space divine item can move." Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed. Needless to say, he had really overlooked this point. Indeed, with a space divine item that could move, entering the pagoda was a very simple matter. "Then why are you looking for me? How do you know I'm here?" Qin Feiyong said. "Of course I'm here because I miss you, an old friend. As for why I know you're here, it's actually very easy to judge because you have nowhere else to go in the great Qin Empire." Lu Xingqian smiled faintly. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled and asked again, "Then how do you know I'm back?" "Speculation. But obviously I guessed right," Lu Xingqian said. Qin Feiyong said, "What about the state preceptor and the others? Do they know I'm back?" Chapter 1142. Can you be more shameless? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. This was the first time he saw someone praise himself for being smart. Lu Xingqian chuckled and asked, "Did you kill the invincible Black Army in Butterfly Valley?" Qin Feiyong nodded. "You've been to the capital?" Lu Xingqian asked again. Qin Feiyong nodded again. Lu Xingqian said angrily, "Then why didn't you come to me? Do you still think of me as a friend?" "When I came back this time, I didn't see anyone except my mother." Qin Feiyong shook his head and then said, "Besides, I want to make it clear that I've never thought of you as my friend." "I'm sad to hear you say that." Lu Xingqian's face darkened. He knew very well about his relationship with Qin Feiyong, but there was no need to be so straightforward. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, "I don't believe that you came all the way here just to see me. You don't have such good intentions. Let's not beat around the bush." "You bastard." "Well, I did come to see you because I have a few things to tell you. First of all, do you remember Ling Yu, Zhao Yu, Feng Ranran, and Luo Dan?" Lu Xingqian asked. "Of course." Qin Feiyong nodded. "They're missing," Lu Xingqian said. Qin Feiyong turned to look at him in surprise. "When you came back last time, they were still there, but when you left, they disappeared with you. I even went to Fengzhou and Yuzhou to investigate them." "Do you know what I found?" Lu Xingqian said mysteriously. "What's the result?" Qin Feiyong frowned. Lu Xingqian said, "According to my investigation, although these 4 people came from Yuzhou and Fengzhou, there is no information about them in Yuzhou or Fengzhou." "Impossible," Qin Feiyong said resolutely. Yuzhou and Fengzhou were the birthplaces of the 4 of them. Moreover, the 4 of them were such monstrous geniuses. How could they not have any information about them? I also felt that this matter was very inconceivable. Thus, I carefully investigated it. In the end, I discovered that they did not have any relatives in Yu Province and Feng Province. Many people don't even know of their existence. After that, I went to Yu Province and Feng Province to investigate. Guess what? They actually entered the sacred palace the day before the 9 underworlds Yellow Springs opened. As for their identities and origins, the Holy Sanctum's records are blank. Lu Xingqian said. So, these 4 people are really mysterious? Qin Feiyang mumbled. Lu Xingqian said, secondly, I think I saw Zhang Jin in Imperial Capital. Zhang Jin? Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did this name sound so familiar? Don't you remember? He is Zhang Ren's younger brother. He is somewhat related to you. Lu Xingqian said. So it's him. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. After being reminded by Lu Xingqian, he remembered that Zhang Jin used to work in the resource hall of the Holy Sanctum. His aptitude was mediocre, but his character was not bad. Later. Because of Zhang Ren's death, Zhang Jin was thoroughly disappointed in the Holy Sanctum. He carried Zhang Ren's corpse and left the Holy Sanctum. Thinking of Zhang Jin, Qin Feiyang also recalled some past events. He turned to Lu Xingqian and sneered, Do you have any thoughts about Zhang Ren's death? Lu Xingqian smiled bitterly. I still remember that during the temple's great gathering, Zhang Ren had already admitted defeat, but your family member, Lu Ziyuan, still killed him. And you, the representative of the inner sanctum at that time, a proud son of heaven, not only did not deal with it impartially, you even shielded Lu Ziyuan. If not for Zhang Ren's death, Zhang Jin would not have left the Holy Sanctum in a fit of anger. Qin Feiyang mocked. It's all because of the frivolity of the past. Can you not mention it again? I'm also very ashamed and regretful now. Lu Xingqian said bitterly. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it back then? Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked, Now that you see Zhang Jin appear in the imperial capital, do you feel a little flustered? To be honest, I do feel a little. But for him to appear in the imperial capital, there is clearly a problem. After all, whether it is cultivation or talent, he is not qualified to step into the imperial capital. Lu Xingqian said. There is indeed a problem. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Let's talk about other things. Lu Xingqian nodded and was about to speak. Rumble. Crack. A loud noise suddenly came from Iron Ox Town. The two hurriedly raised their heads and looked in the direction of Iron Ox Town. Their eyes were filled with surprise. The loud noise was incessant, followed by a strong wave of battle. Lu Xingqian said in a low voice, Do you feel it? It's the holy aura. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, It should be the invincible Black Army that is in trouble. But in this small Iron Ox Town, is there anyone who can fight against the invincible Black Army? Let's go and take a look. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He decisively put down the fishing rod and rushed to the sky, flying towards Iron Ox Town. Lu Xingqian followed closely behind. Qin Feiyang suddenly turned his head and looked at Lu Xingqian. He did not notice before, but now he realized that Lu Xingqian's aura also carried a holy aura. 5-star Battle Saint. Finally. He saw Lu Xingqian's cultivation clearly, but even his jaw almost dropped. How did this person do it? One had to know. He had opened the door of potential and received the inheritance of his ancestor, causing his bloodline to revert to its ancestral state. That was why he could break through to 5-star Battle Saint so quickly. But Lu Xingqian actually caught up to him? This was too inconceivable. Lu Xingqian seemed to have noticed Qin Feiyang's surprise. He revealed his white teeth and smiled. Didn't I tell you before? I was once a god of war. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Lu Xingqian had indeed said this before, but he did not take it to heart at that time. He thought that Lu Xingqian was just joking. But now, hearing this sentence again, he could not help but hesitate. Could it be true? Lu Xingqian pointed to the sky in front of them and said, Don't think about it. Look at the sky above Iron Ox Town. It's very interesting. Qin Feiyang looked up suspiciously, and his eyes suddenly widened. Above Iron Ox Town, a white-clothed youth was crazily slaughtering a group of invincible Black Army soldiers. He was extremely powerful. But this was not the main point. The main point was that white-clothed youth looked exactly like him. He was practically another Qin Feiyong. Lu Xingchen asked suspiciously, "Brother Qin, is he an imposter or are you an imposter? Or are you the one who arranged this?" Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at him and said in a deep voice, "How could I arrange for someone to impersonate me? Who is this person? What's his purpose for impersonating me?" That's amazing. The cultivation of those invincible Black Army soldiers were between 1-star and 4-star battle saints, but he could easily destroy them. And I can't see through his cultivation. Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyong said, "Judging from his aura, he should be a 6-star battle saint." There's actually a 6-star battle saint hidden in the spiritual state? Lu Xingchen was shocked. Not good. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's expression changed. After such a terrifying battle, Iron Ox Town below would have been destroyed. He quickly looked down at Iron Ox Town. As expected, Iron Ox Town had long disappeared, leaving behind only ruins. And there was not a single living person in the ruins. Corpses were everywhere, and blood stained the ground. Damn it! Qin Feiyong cursed silently, and his speed suddenly increased. After a few breaths, he entered Iron Ox Town, landed on the broken streets, and walked all the way. Everywhere he passed, there were broken corpses and broken limbs, and the smell of blood was pungent. Why did they hurt these innocent people? Qin Feiyong gradually clenched his fists. Although he had only lived in Iron Ox Town for 5 years, he already had deep feelings for the people and things here. Moreover, most of the people living in Iron Ox Town were mortals who had no strength to truss a chicken. It was too much to not even let mortals go. In the end, he stopped in front of a dilapidated house. This was Zhao Shuanger's home. When he passed by this place on his way back, he took a few glances. Everyone had a simple smile on their faces. But now, everything was gone, and only ruins were left. Why? He walked in slowly, and corpses could be seen everywhere. Fresh blood flowed on the ground, still steaming. It was like hell, and it was a ghastly sight. Suddenly, he quickened his pace and walked to the front of an old man. The old man had white hair and was lying in a pool of blood. His body was pressed against a beam, and he was already dead. "Grandpa Zhao, I'm sorry, I'm late." Qin Feiyong squatted beside the old man, his face full of self-blame and guilt. The old man was Zhao Shuanger's grandfather. Ever since Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, Zhao Shuanger, and Feng Ling died, he did not take care of their families. For example, Ling Yunfei's mother, Lu Ji. For example, Luo Qingzhu's mother, Luo Chenxue, and Feng Ling grandfather. Although Feng Ling grandfather had died, he still remembered him in his heart. Only this old man, he had almost forgotten about him. In the past, he did not think much of it. But at this moment, when he looked at the old man's eyes and the bloody corpse, he could not help but feel regret in his heart. Why did he not think of this before? He only felt regret after losing it? Qin Feiyong slowly reached out his hand, closed the old man's eyes, and raised his head to look at the man in white and the invincible Black Army. "Today, none of you can leave." He suddenly roared and rushed to the sky with a billowing holy aura. Why is there Qin Feiyong here? The invincible Black Army, who was fighting with the man in white, had a trace of surprise in their eyes. At the same time, the man in white also looked at Qin Feiyong. He was not surprised at all. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Then, he turned around and flew away with lightning speed. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and a red sword energy surged out. 40 sword energies soared into the sky, and the few remaining invincible Black Army were wiped out. Blood dyed the sky. Boom. Then, he pointed his index finger in the air, and a beam of battle energy blasted into the Iron Ox Town below. With a loud rumble, the entire Iron Ox Town collapsed into the ground and turned into a giant tomb. "I will bring his head back and bury it with you. Rest in peace," Qin Feiyong whispered. Then, he used the phantom steps and chased after the man in white. "Wait for me." Chapter 1143. In the Void. The man in white took a mysterious step, moving as fast as lightning. Although he seemed to be running for his life, if one looked carefully, they would find that there was not the slightest bit of panic on his face. Qin Feiyang followed closely behind. Lu Xingchen whispered, "Brother Qin, he is a 6-star battle saint. His cultivation is 1 realm higher than ours, and he has mastered a perfect auxiliary battle art. I'm afraid we won't be able to catch up to him." "So what if he's 1 realm higher?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, activated the concealment art, and disappeared without a trace. Lu Xingchen was surprised. What was this guy doing in the castle? Could it be that the castle could also move? He did not know that Qin Feiyang had already mastered a battle art that could make him invisible. He only thought that Qin Feiyang had gone to the castle. At the same time, sensing that Qin Feiyang's aura had disappeared, the man in white also stopped and turned his head to look behind him suspiciously. But just as he turned his head, he felt a pain in his lower abdomen. He suddenly looked down and his expression changed. He saw a battle aura, like a sharp arrow, entering his lower abdomen at lightning speed. Blood immediately flowed out. "What's going on?" The man in white was bewildered. Lu Xingchen was bewildered. It was also at this moment that Qin Feiyang appeared and stood right in front of the white-clothed man. He was very close to him. "Impossible. Your castle can't be moved at all. How did you do it?" The man in white was shocked and angry. Qin Feiyang did not answer. He grabbed the man in white's neck and sneered, "I want to see who exactly you are. How dare you pretend to be me, Qin Feiyang?" After saying that, Qin Feiyang took out a facial restoration pill and stuffed it into the man in white's mouth. The man in white's face was suddenly filled with panic. Boom! But at this moment, in the forest below, a terrifying emperor aura emerged and instantly enveloped Qin Feiyang. At the same time that Qin Feiyang was imprisoned, a white light flashed out from the forest below and landed in front of Qin Feiyang like lightning. He grabbed the man in white and retreated. "There's still someone else. And it's a war king." Qin Feiyang's eyebrows raised. His aura. His black hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. He forcibly broke through the emperor pressure that was imprisoning him. Then, he looked at the white off her face. But Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed. He felt like he had seen this pair of eyes before, but he couldn't remember where. The woman in white spoke. Her voice was bone-chilling and emotionless. She was like a god of death. Then, she took Zhang Jin and left without looking back. "Even the voice is familiar," Qin Feiyang muttered. With a thought, Yan Wei appeared out of thin air and said in a deep voice, "Take them down." "Yes." Yan Wei responded with a respectful tone, as a powerful battle chi burst out from his body and sprang toward the white-shirt woman and her companion like a surging tide. "There is indeed a war king hiding beside me." The woman in white's pupils shrank. She raised her slender arm and waved it in the air. Battle chi emerged and turned into a huge wave that swept across the sky. Boom! The two waves of battle chi collided. Puff! Yan Wei's body trembled and he retreated. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The woman in white's body was also trembling slightly. "A mere 1-star war king dares to behave atrociously in front of us. You really don't know what's good for you." Yan Wei's eyes turned cold. He executed the Heavenly Demon's 9 steps and charged towards the woman in white. The Heavenly Demon's 9 steps was not only a perfect support skill, it was also a perfect killing skill. In other words, this was a skill that was both offensive and defensive. With every step he took, his aura would increase tremendously. Even the air was trembling. At this moment, he was like a demon god descending to the world. His aura was extremely powerful. When he took the 4th step, both his speed and his aura had reached an unprecedented level. Boom! When he took the 5th step, he was like a god descending to the mortal world. He stepped on the woman in white's head. Immediately, a terrifying murderous aura enveloped the woman in white. Perfect battle skill. The woman in white's heart trembled. No matter what kind of battle skill it was a peak perfect battle skill. Boom! Whoosh! The woman in white waved her hand. Battle chi emerged and turned into a huge wave that surged forward. This battle skill. Qin Feiyang, who was not far away, looked at the huge wave that covered the sky and the earth. His brows were tightly knitted together. The battle skill that the woman in white used was only a superior battle skill. However, it gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Boom. Yan Wei's aura shook the heavens and the earth. Looking at the huge wave, his eyes were extremely sharp. Immediately, he took the sixth step. Accompanied by a deafening loud sound, the huge wave instantly disintegrated. He was unstoppable. Puff! The woman in white spat out a mouthful of blood. However, her eyes became colder and colder. Waterlong sky. She let go of the man in white and roared. Her long hair danced wildly in the air. It was as if a female demon had appeared. Her murderous aura was monstrous. Boom! Battle chi poured out like a waterfall. Huge waves that covered the sky surged in the void above. It was as if this place had turned into a vast ocean. The destructive aura swept in all directions. Waterlong sky. This is the second move of the sunflower water art. Qin Feiyong's gaze trembled. The memories that had been sealed in his mind for a long time gushed out uncontrollably. How is this possible? It's actually her. His face was filled with disbelief. Humph! At the same time, Yan Wei snorted coldly. He simply and violently stomped his foot. This was the seventh step. Boom! This stomp was earth-shattering. The void distorted crazily as if it was about to crack. Several huge peaks nearby collapsed in an instant. Dust and smoke billowed and the rumbling was deafening. As for the huge wave, it was like a broken mirror. It cracked bit by bit until it finally disintegrated and dissipated between heaven and earth. Puff! The woman in white was sent flying. Blood gushed out of her mouth. Yan Wei also retreated a few steps. However, he only suffered a slight injury. After stabilizing his body, he immediately charged towards the woman in white. His aura was surging. Lu Xingchen's pupils contracted as he landed beside Qin Feiyong in a single step and said in a low voice, "This subordinate of yours is very strong." Qin Feiyong turned a deaf ear. His gaze was fixed on the woman in white. He said to Yan Wei, "I want her alive." Alive? Yan Wei was stunned. Looking at Qin Feiyong's expression, he wondered if this woman was an enemy of Qin Feiyong's in the past. Understood. He nodded slightly. His hand reached out and his battle chi turned into a huge wave that surged into the sky. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a huge hand that covered the sky appeared and grabbed towards the woman in white. "You're too naive if you want to capture me like this." The woman in white sneered. She waved her hands and waves of battle chi surged into the sky. Roar! In the blink of an eye, a water dragon that was hundreds of feet long appeared. Its ferocity was unparalleled. Qin Feiyong's eyes shone brightly. He mumbled, "This is the third move of the sunflower water art, water dragon breaking the sky." Sunflower water art? Lu Xingchen was stunned. His face was filled with surprise. He stared at the woman in white and mumbled, "The sunflower water art is not her battle art. Could she be?" "That's right. If it's not a coincidence, then she must be the woman we know," Qin Feiyong said. The water dragon roared in the sky and pounced towards the huge hand. The huge hand that Yan Wei condensed was just a normal attack. The water dragon breaking the sky that the woman in white used was a superior battle art. Yan Wei was naturally no match for her. With a boom, the huge hand was destroyed on the spot. However, at the same time that the huge hand was destroyed, Yan Wei took the 8th step of the 9 steps of the heavenly demon. His aura was close to that of a 5-star combat emperor. The water dragon immediately shattered into pieces and turned into bubbles. "Stop struggling. When I take the 9th step, you will definitely die." Yan Wei looked down at the woman in white like a king. His divine aura was inviolable. "Then come and try." The woman in white placed her hands in front of her chest and quickly formed a seal. A destructive aura spread out. Stubborn. Yan Wei's gaze turned cold and he suddenly took the 9th step. His aura broke through the barrier and charged towards a 5-star combat emperor. The power of the 9 steps of the heavenly demon had been unleashed to the extreme. However, just as the woman in white was about to lose her life under his feet, she suddenly raised her head and a strong murderous intent burst out from her eyes. At the same time, a palm-sized mystic ice seal appeared between her hands and cold air billowed. The first style of the frost arts, ice seal. Although she shouted, the mystic ice seal broke through the air and swept into Yan Wei's feet. Yan Wei's expression changed immediately. He could clearly feel that when the mystic ice seal entered his feet, a shocking cold current suddenly swept through his entire body. His limbs began to stiffen. White snowflakes quickly appeared on his clothes, skin, and even his hair. These snowflakes emitted a terrifying cold air. In the blink of an eye, a thick layer of ice formed on his body and he became a human ice sculpture. Frost arts. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Yan Wei and the woman in white had the same cultivation, but she was able to seal Yan Wei in ice? This was enough to prove that this so-called frost arts was also a perfect battle art, and it was also a peak perfect battle art. The woman in white looked at Yan Wei with disdain and turned to Qin Feiyong, saying, "I believe you have already guessed who I am." "Dong Qing," Qin Feiyong said. The woman in white sneered, "That's right, it's me. Are you surprised?" Qin Feiyong was silent. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyong and asked Dong Qing, "Where have you been all these years?" "Hee hee. Haha," Dong Qing laughed crazily. She took off her mask and revealed a face as beautiful as a flower. Dong Qing was once the pride of the inner palace. Her appearance was not bad, and it was not an exaggeration to say that she was peerless. But right now, her face was filled with hostility and hatred. She looked at Lu Xingchen and said, "I went to hell but I was not satisfied, so I came back from hell." Chapter 1144. "I'm afraid you don't have the ability," Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Back then, he wasn't afraid of Dong Qing, and now, he was even more afraid. However, Dong Qing's current cultivation made it hard for him to accept. He clearly remembered that Dong Qing had only broken through to the Six-Star War Emperor when they fought in the temple's great gathering. At that time, his cultivation had also broken through to the Three-Star War Emperor. All these years, he relied on the Gate of Potential and the purple gold dragon blood to barely break through to the Five-Star War Saint. But Dong Qing had already stepped into the One-Star War Emperor realm. He wouldn't believe that Dong Qing's talent was better than his. Because he knew how Dong Qing's talent was. But how did she do it? Even if she opened all the gates of potential, it couldn't be so fast. Lu Xingchen's breakthrough to the Five-Star War Saint had already shocked him. But now Dong Qing's cultivation was even more unbelievable. "You're no longer the Qin Feiyong from back then, and I'm no longer the Dong Qing from back then. It's still hard to say who will win now. Get ready to pay your debt." Dong Qing smiled coldly and her hands began to form seals again. A destructive aura rolled out from between her hands. Boom. However, at this time, an even more terrifying aura erupted. Qin Feiyong, Lu Xingchen, and the white-clothed woman all turned to look at Yan Wei. The aura came from Yan Wei, who was trapped in the ice sculpture. "What's going on?" The white-clothed woman was bewildered. Rumble. Yan Wei's aura became stronger and stronger, surging in all directions with earth-shattering momentum. The void and earth here began to tremble. Boom. Suddenly, the aura that erupted from Yan Wei actually broke through the shackles of the One-Star War Master and climbed to the Two-Star War Master. He actually broke through at this time? The white-clothed woman and her companion were dumbfounded. Gotcha! Suddenly, a crack appeared on the ice sculpture. As soon as this crack appeared, a chain reaction occurred, and tear marks continued to appear. In less than 3 breaths, the entire ice sculpture was full of cracks, as if it was covered with a layer of spider web. Not good. The white-clothed woman's expression changed. She turned around and dived in front of the white-clothed man. She grabbed the white-clothed man, opened a teleportation door, and entered it without looking back. "Qin Feiyong, if you want to know why we're pretending to be you, then come to the ruins." The portal quickly disappeared. Dong Qing's voice echoed in the air for a long time. From the beginning to the end, Qin Feiyong didn't try to stop Dong Qing because he couldn't stop her now. "Land of ruins." His eyes flashed slightly, and then he looked at Yan Wei again. Crack. Finally. Yan Wei broke out of the ice, his aura shaking the clouds. "Congratulations." Qin Feiyong smiled. The stronger Yan Wei was, the more help it would be to him. Yan Wei rubbed his head and smiled innocently. He said apologetically, "I'm sorry. I was too careless and couldn't make them stay." "I'm fine." Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and his eyes flickered. Lu Xingchen frowned. "Brother Qin, why did Dong Qing ask you to go to the ruins? What kind of place is the ruins?" Yan Wei didn't understand. Qin Feiyang said, "The ruins is a place where not even a blade of grass grows. It's also a place of no return." A place of no return. Yan Wei's eyes trembled, and he said in surprise, "Isn't that a place of death?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a place of death, but it's not a problem for me. I've been there twice, but I can't figure out why they want to lead me to the ruins." Lu Xingchen asked in surprise, "Could it be that there are still secrets hidden in the ruins?" Secret? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly. "No matter what the secret is, I have to go and see it." "No." Dong Qing and the others clearly came prepared. "If you go now, won't you fall into their trap?" "I think it's better to take the long view," Lu Xingchen advised. "We can't guess what their purpose is. Only by going to the ruins can we find out the truth. As for you, there's no need to take the risk with me. Go back to the imperial capital to avoid being discovered and arousing suspicion." Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xingchen and said. Lu Xingchen pondered for a moment and nodded with a smile. "Well, take care of yourself. When you come to the imperial capital next time, remember to come and find me. Let's go to the fragrant moon brothel for a few drinks." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Goodbye." Lu Xingchen cupped his hands and said. Then he nodded and smiled at Yan Wei. He opened the portal and walked in. After Lu Xingchen left, Yan Wei whispered, "This Lu Xingchen is not simple. You'd better be careful." Qin Feiyang was surprised and asked curiously, "How is he not simple?" Yan Wei shook his head. "I can't say. It's just a feeling. Every time I look at him, I always feel like he's covered with a veil. He's unfathomable." "You're right. Although I've known him for many years, I still can't see through him. Moreover, he's related to the Mu family of the Forgotten Continent," Qin Feiyang said. "What?" Yan Wei was stunned. "What kind of existence is the Mu family? They're actually related to the Mu family?" After a few months of recuperation, it's time to stretch my muscles. The ruins? I'd like to see what's waiting for me. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. He opened a portal and stepped into it. Yan Wei took a deep breath and followed. Whoosh! Whoosh! The ruins. In the canyon, the wind was still howling, and the black tornado was roaring wantonly. The iron chain bridge above the canyon was rusty and swaying in the wind. No one knew how long it had been there. Whoosh! As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared, he glanced at the iron chain bridge. He saw a man and a woman standing on the opposite side of the iron chain bridge. It was Dong Qing. "They've already gone over," Yan Wei whispered. He looked at the storm in the canyon and frowned. That black storm actually gave him a great sense of danger. "Go down." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and landed on the bridge. Then, without any hesitation, he stepped on the iron chain bridge. Yan Wei followed closely behind him, not daring to be the least bit distracted. The wind was howling, and the iron chain bridge kept swaying. It was like the sound of the Grim Reaper. Yan Wei looked down and frowned. "What's under the canyon?" "Everything. People, beasts, jungles, glaciers, deserts, seas of fire and so on. It's like an underground world," Qin Feiyang said. Yan Wei was surprised. "It can't be. Even I don't dare to touch these black tornadoes. How did they survive?" Qin Feiyang said, "There's no storm under the canyon." "I see." Yan Wei nodded. After a while, the two walked to the middle of the iron chain bridge. Standing there, they could clearly see Dong Qing and Yan Wei. The two stood side by side on the opposite side, looking at Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei with cold eyes. Suddenly, Dong Qing waved her hand, and a red sword appeared out of thin air. And Yan Wei was stunned and quickly shouted, "What do you want to do?" "Send you to hell." Dong Qing smiled coldly. She grabbed the red sword and slashed at the iron chain. "Damn it!" Yan Wei's face changed greatly. "Don't panic. Although this iron chain bridge is rusty, it's very strong. Not to mention ordinary sharp weapons. I'm afraid even a sacred weapon may not be able to cut it," Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Yan Wei couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But as soon as he finished speaking, Dong Qing's sword slashed at the iron chain, and a loud clanging sound rang out. Sparks flew in all directions, and the iron chain was actually cut apart. What? Qin Feiyong turned pale with fright. What level of sword was that? It was so sharp? But there was no time to look carefully. The iron chain broke, and the iron chain bridge shook violently. Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei, who were standing on the bridge, suddenly lost their balance. However, the two of them were quick with their hands and quickly grabbed the other side of the iron chain to stabilize their bodies. How is it? Are you desperate now? Dong Qing grabbed the sword and looked at Qin Feiyong with sarcasm in her eyes. Desperate? Even if you cut off all the iron chains, you won't be a threat to me. Qin Feiyong's face was full of disdain. Then let's have a try. Dong Qing's eyes flashed. She raised the sword in her hand and slashed down with all her strength. Clang! In a burst of fire, all the iron chains were broken in an instant. The iron chain bridge immediately descended towards the canyon below, and the gravity that permeated the air above the canyon immediately surged towards the two of them. His life was hanging by a thread. Yan Wei couldn't help but panic. Grab me! Qin Feiyong shouted without looking back. He was calm and steady. Yan Wei quivered and immediately reached out to grab Qin Feiyong's shoulder. At the same time, Qin Feiyong's mind moved, and a rib appeared. When the originally dim rib bone came into contact with the surging gravity, it immediately blossomed with resplendent divine light. In an instant, the gravity disappeared. The black hurricane was also isolated by the divine light. Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei stood in the sky above the canyon. The divine bone shone brightly like a full moon, shining in all directions. Dong Qing frowned. But suddenly, she smiled again and gave Qin Feiyong a thumbs up from afar. She said, "Impressive. It seems like this is what you rely on to enter the ruins repeatedly. However, the real show is yet to come. If you have the ability, continue to chase after me." After that, she waved her hand and took the man in white to the depths of the ruins like lightning. The real show. Don't let me down. Qin Feiyong muttered to himself and shouted, "Let's go." Yan Wei nodded and swept up Qin Feiyong. They turned into a ray of light and flew to the other side. This woman must be brewing some conspiracy. We must be careful. In front of absolute strength, no matter what conspiracy, it is like withered branches and withered leaves. It will be annihilated with a snap of the fingers. Qin Feiyong said. Yan Wei had already broken through to a 2-star combat emperor. In addition, he had 2 perfect battle arts. It was more than enough to deal with Dong Qing. As for the red battle sword in Dong Qing's hand, even if it was a divine weapon, he was not afraid. Because he also had a divine weapon. This divine weapon was Chong Shui. Chapter 1145. Entering the ruins, Qin Feiyong put away the ribs and looked back at the canyon. Without the iron chain bridge, the ruins would become a real cage in the future. No one would be able to enter, and no one would be able to leave. However, since Dong Qing dared to cut off the iron chain bridge, she should have some confidence. But what was her confidence? Was it the battle sword in her hand? Whoosh! The two moved as fast as lightning. Soon, Qin Feiyong saw a village. Qin Feiyong had a deep impression of this village. Because when he first entered the ruins, he came here and gave the villagers a lot of food. One of the children, in order to thank him, gave him a bamboo tube. However, the water in the bamboo tube was poisonous. But at that time, Qin Feiyong did not pursue it. Because he couldn't bear it. But at this moment, corpses were everywhere. Blood flowed on the ground, soaking the mountains and rivers. What's going on? Yan Wei was surprised. Qin Feiyong walked to a corpse, looked at it seriously, and said in a deep voice, "It died not long ago. It should be killed by Dong Qing." Why did they do that? What's the benefit of killing these innocent people? Yan Wei said angrily. I don't know. However, for these people, death may be the best relief. Qin Feiyong sighed. At that time, if it weren't for the old man's permission, he would have destroyed this place full of darkness and cruelty. Yan Wei glanced at the desolate land and fell silent. Indeed, it was better to die than to live in such a place. Let's go, Qin Feiyong said. Yan Wei calmed down, looked ahead and frowned. They have disappeared. How can we catch up? Qin Feiyong waved his hand and called out Wolf King. Lead the way. Wolf King sniffed hard and said, straight ahead. Yan Wei immediately rushed forward with a man and a wolf. Stop. But not long after, Wolf King suddenly shouted again. What happened? Yan Wei stopped in the void of space and looked at it suspiciously. Wolf King said, something's wrong. There's the smell of blood in the air on both the left and right. It can't be? Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei looked at each other in bewilderment. Absolutely. Wolf King said with certainty. Yan Wei asked, did they split up? Something's wrong. Their scent is indeed heading straight ahead. Wolf King said. Yan Wei said, if they went straight ahead, then where did the bloody smell on the left and right come from? I don't understand either. Wolf King shook his head. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He looked at Yan Wei and said, let's split up and take a look. We'll meet here later. Okay. Yan Wei nodded, turned around, and quickly disappeared to the left. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King rushed to the right. 100 breaths later, another village came into the sight of a man and a wolf, but the ground was also full of floating corpses, and the ground was dyed dark red. The strong smell of blood was nauseating. Wolf King ran to a corpse, only to see a fatal wound on the throat of the corpse. But the blood had solidified. Obviously, the corpse had been dead for a long time. It looked up at the other corpses and found that the time of death and the fatal wound were exactly the same as the corpse in front of it. How could this be? Wolf King muttered to himself and returned to Qin Feiyang's side, saying, these people's faces are twisted and ferocious, and there's still fear in their eyes before they died. They should have seen something terrible when they were alive, and have been dead for a long time. It shouldn't be Dong Qing's doing. If it's not Dong Qing, who could it be? Qin Feiyang's brows were tightly knitted. I've carefully smelled the residual smell here, but the smell of blood here is too strong, and I can't catch the scent of the murderer. But there's still a smell of blood in the air ahead. Wolf King said in a deep voice. Lead the way. Qin Feiyang said. Wolf King immediately ran forward. After a while, they saw another village, with hundreds of corpses lying on the ground. There was a fatal wound on the throat, and the blood had solidified and seeped into the ground. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands, turned to look at Wolf King and asked, still can't catch the scent of the murderer? Wolf King shook his head. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent, and with a wave of his hand, the ground was suddenly torn apart, and the whole village was buried under the ground. Then he said, let's go and meet up with Yan Wei. After a while, Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei met up. Qin Feiyang asked, how's the situation? I found a total of 6 villages, but all the people in the villages are dead, and no one is alive. I suspect that the people here should have been killed. Yan Wei said. The Wolf King asked, then do they all have a fatal wound on their throats? That's right. According to my observation, they all died from blood loss. Yan Wei nodded. Wolf King said, how long have they been dead? Yan Wei thought for a moment and said, the blood has solidified, it should be 2 or 3 days ago. Wolf King said, we saw the same situation as you. Damn bastard, who is so cruel? Yan Wei was furious. Generally speaking, people with the cultivation of him and Qin Feiyang, even if all the people in the ruins were killed, they would not blink an eye. It was not that they were indifferent, but that they had long been used to it. Moreover, their hands were stained with blood, so they were not qualified to scold others. But the people here were all bleeding to death because their throats were cut. This was obviously intentional. For an ordinary person, death was not terrible. After all, they only had a short lifespan of a few decades. But such a way of dying was torture. If this person is not crazy, then there must be some purpose. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Yan Wei said with hatred, what purpose can there be? He must have gone crazy. Qin Feiyang said, we can't judge too early. Let's continue to track. Yan Wei nodded, and led Wolf King and Qin Feiyang, turned into a stream of light, and exposed themselves in front. On the way, they did not encounter many villages, but without exception, all of them had suffered misfortune. Along the way, they did not find a single survivor. Time passed breath by breath. Half an hour later, a dilapidated ancient city in the distance entered the sight of 2 people and 1 wolf. On the city gate, there were 3 ancient words engraved. Wohu City, Wolf King said. We're back again. Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. When they first came to the ruins, they also came to Wohu City and made a big scene in the city. But now Wohu City was even more dilapidated than before. As far as the eye could see, the city walls were full of holes. The buildings in the city were also dilapidated. Coupled with the dim sky, from afar, it looked like a gloomy ghost city. There was no one guarding the city gate, and it looked incomparably deserted. I really didn't expect that such a backward place would exist in the prosperous and glorious Great Qin Empire. Yan Wei took a deep look, turned to Qin Feiyong, and asked, "How long has this place existed?" According to the ancient records, the ruins already existed at the beginning of the Great Qin Empire. So the ruins should be left behind by the previous dynasty, Heavenly Sun Empire. It has been at least 10,000 years since then. Qin Feiyong said. So long? Yan Wei frowned and said, "The people living here are really pitiful." Not necessarily. Many people here used to be subjects of the 9 states and 18 counties, but because they committed many evil deeds, they were hunted down and had nowhere to go, so they fled here. Only those who were born here are really pitiful, Wolf King said. Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "I really don't understand why the emperors of the Great Qin Empire would allow such a place to exist for so many years. I used to be very puzzled, but when I met a person, I realized that there were many powerful saint beasts sealed here. Unless it was a last resort, the ruins should not be destroyed." Qin Feiyong said. This person was naturally referring to Ran Duxing. "Who is it?" Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "It's a long story. We might meet him this time. When we meet, I'll introduce him to you." Okay. Yan Wei nodded. While talking, the 2 men and 1 wolf were getting closer and closer to Wohu City. Suddenly, Wolf King's pupils shrank and he exclaimed, "There's the smell of blood." The smell of blood. Could it be that the people of Wohu City have also met with misfortune? Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei looked at each other and immediately sped up. What a strong smell of blood. The closer they got, the heavier Wolf King's gaze became. Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei also smelled the smell of blood. More than 10 breaths later, they finally landed on the city wall and scanned the scene in the city. Their eyes were filled with shock. The entire Wohu City was littered with corpses. There was not a single person. Blood flowed on the ground like a stream. The bloody scene was like an Azura hell. It was terrifying. Yan Wei said, "The blood hasn't coagulated yet. It should be Dong Qing's doing." Why? Why would she do that? Qin Feiyong clenched his hands tightly together. Wolf King's eyes suddenly trembled, and he said in surprise, "No, didn't you notice a very serious problem?" "What problem?" The 2 looked at her in surprise. Old Yan is now a 2-star battle ancestor, 1 small realm higher than Dong Qing. And although Dong Qing has mastered a perfect auxiliary battle art, Old Yan is also using the Demon 9 steps to bring us along. Moreover, it will take her time to kill these people. Logically speaking, we should have caught up with her long ago. But until now, we haven't even seen her shadow. Wolf King said. That's right. Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei suddenly came to a realization. What was going on? Yan Wei seemed to have thought of something. His body trembled slightly and he said, "Could it be that she has mastered a divine art?" Divine art? Qin Feiyong and Wolf King's eyes narrowed. Wolf King shook his head and said, "It shouldn't be. The divine art is not a cabbage. How could she have it? I would rather believe that she had hidden her cultivation before. It seems that we can't underestimate this woman." Qin Feiyong's face was gloomy. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.